Nobody warns you what it would feel like to actually see what John saw. Not read it, not hear a sermon about it. I mean see it. Colors your eyes don't have a file folder for. Creatures with eyes in places that feel frankly unnecessary. And a silence so heavy it presses on your ribs. Hey guys, tonight we begin with a door that stands open in the sky. We're stepping into the strangest, most beautiful vision you've ever been dropped into. No spooky movie vibes, no cheesy end times posters, just raw, overwhelming wonder. You're going to be right there for the impossible colors, the bone-deep singing, and that half hour when heaven goes quiet like it's holding its breath. So before you get comfortable, take a moment, like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. Congratulations, you've just woken up on Patmos, a rocky little island out in the Aegean. The good news, you're not at sea anymore. The bad news, the island smells like sun-baked stone, old fish, and human exhaustion. You sit up and immediately regret it, because the ground you slept on is basically pointy gravel with dreams. Your back announces its opinions in several languages. Your blanket is wool, technically, but it feels like it was woven out of itchy rumors and disappointment. The air is salty, damp, and already warm, like the whole island is a slow cooker set to crispy. Your mouth tastes like yesterday's olives and today's bad decisions. Somewhere nearby, a gull screams like it's auditioning for the role of most dramatic bird. You stand, and your feet meet the ground with that special ancient world surprise. Grit, sharp pebbles, and something sticky you absolutely do not want to identify. The hem of your tunic is stiff with salt. It slaps your ankles like it's annoyed you're awake. Patmos is not a cute vacation island. There's no little cafe with a chalkboard sign. It's rock, scrub, wind, and the kind of sunshine that feels personal. You follow a narrow path, and everything is the same color. Sun-whitened stone, dusty brown weeds, and the dull green of tough little bushes that refuse to die. It's quiet in the way places get quiet when people are tired. Not peaceful, just used up. Down by the shoreline, the sea is glittering like it's trying to be charming. Don't fall for it. The moment you get closer, the smell hits harder. Brine, seaweed, and fish guts baking on a rock, like someone started a seafood barbecue and then gave up. And then you notice him. An old man sits a little apart from everyone else, where the wind is strongest. His hair is thin and white, flattened by salt air. His face is creased and sun-worn, like leather that's been folded 1,000 times and kept anyway. His hands are the first thing you see. They're not gentle old man hands. They're working hands, with thick knuckles and little cuts that never quite heal because life keeps happening. He's wearing simple clothes that have been patched, repatched, and then patched again out of sheer stubbornness. The fabric hangs heavy with sweat, and the edges are frayed like the garment itself is tired. There's no jewelry, no comfort, not even decent sandals. You look around for the rest of his home. Home is a generous word. It's more like a spot where the wind doesn't knock you over. Maybe a shallow cave, maybe a rough shelter of stones. Either way, the interior has that scent of damp rock, smoke from a small fire, and the unmistakable funk of wool that never meets water on purpose. You hear other sounds now. A cough from somewhere behind a boulder. A muttered argument. The scrape of stone on stone as someone drags something heavy, This island is full of people who have been shoved out of sight. People the Empire didn't feel like killing, but also didn't feel like listening to. So they got sent here instead, like yesterday's trash. Efficient, heartless, very on brand. The old man glances up at you, and there's a steadiness in his eyes that makes you straighten your posture without even knowing why. He looks like someone who has already lost a lot and didn't turn into a monster about it. That alone is shocking. He doesn't have the energy for small talk. Nobody here does. Words cost too much when you're sunburned, hungry, and one bad night away from fever. So you sit near him, close enough to share the same wind. The breeze whips past and steals heat from your skin, but it also clears the stink from your nose for half a second. That's a luxury. You watch him for a while. He keeps looking toward the horizon, not like he's waiting for a ship, but like he's listening for something you can't hear. Every so often he closes his eyes, lips moving silently, not performative, not loud, just steady, like a heartbeat. Time passes in that Patmos way, where the sun crawls and your thoughts get loud. A fly lands on your arm and rubs its hands together like it pays rent. You flick it away and it comes back, because of course it does. The old man shifts, slow and careful. His joints complain. He winces, then keeps going anyway, because apparently that's the only option on this island. He stands. You stand too, because when an elderly exile stands, like he's been called to attention by something invisible, you don't stay lounging like you're at a spa. The wind changes, not stronger, different. It brushes your skin with that sudden cool edge that makes every hair lift, like the air itself is paying attention. And then the light does something it absolutely should not do. It's still daylight, but the sky looks thinner, like the blue has been stretched. Like someone pulled back a layer you didn't know was there, and now the world is one step closer to breaking open. Your eyes sting, not from sun, but from brightness that doesn't behave. The colors start showing up wrong, too deep, too clean, too alive. It's like you've been staring at dust your whole life and someone just handed you water. The old man's face shifts, and for the first time you see it. Not fear, not panic, but the kind of awe that makes a person look younger. His mouth parts slightly, and his eyes shine, reflecting something you can't see yet. You try to speak, but your throat tightens. Your tongue sticks to the roof of your mouth like it's also trying to be respectful. And then, sound. Not the sea, not the birds, not the human noises behind you. A voice hits the air like a trumpet blast, clean and sharp, and it goes straight through you. It's not just loud, it's commanding. The way thunder is commanding, the way a judge's gavel is commanding, the way your name sounds when someone says it and you know you're in trouble. Your heart stumbles. Just once, the old man turns his head, tracking the sound with a calm that makes you feel wildly underprepared. He looks up, higher than the horizon, higher than the gulls, higher than the place your brain normally allows itself to imagine. You follow his gaze, and there it is. A door stands open in the sky. Not a metaphor, not a pretty cloud shape. A real opening. Like reality has hinges, like heaven has been waiting behind a thin wall and finally decided to crack it. Light spills out, but it isn't normal light. It has weight. It has texture. It looks like it would taste like metal if you could drink it. Your knees go a little weak, and you hate that your body is doing that, but also fair. This is not an everyday moment. This is not even a once-in-a-lifetime moment. This is a your life is now split into before and after moment. The old man exhales, slow and trembling, and you realize he isn't surprised that the door opened. He's surprised that you're allowed to see it. The wind off the sea is still in your hair when the voice speaks again. Not near you, not at you, through you. It doesn't ask. It doesn't negotiate. It just says, clear as a blade and loud as brass, come up here. Your stomach drops like you've stepped off a cliff in a dream. The old man, John, doesn't flinch, which is infuriating. He just lifts his chin like he's been waiting for this exact sentence all week. His eyes lock on that open door in the sky, and you do too. Because what else are you going to do? Pretend you suddenly remembered something on the stove. The light pouring out of the opening changes the whole island. The rocks don't look sun-bleached anymore. They look thin, like they're props. Like someone could tap Patmos with a knuckle and it would sound hollow. Your ears start doing that thing they do before a storm. Pressure, a faint ringing. The air feels charged, like lightning is considering a career change into something more personal. John's lips move, silent words. His shoulders lift with one slow breath. And then the world tilts. Not physically, like an earthquake. More like the rules of down and up and get tired and resign. 1 second you're standing on gritty stone that smells like fish regret. The next, you're not standing on anything your brain recognizes as matter. You're just taken. There's no polite elevator music, no gentle transition. It's more like reality grabs you by the collar and yanks. Your lungs forget what they're doing. Your skin prickles, every hair on your arms rising like it's trying to salute. Your eyes water from brightness that isn't sun bright, but your pupils were not built for this, bright. For a flicker of time, you're sure you'll be unmade, like your body will turn into a pile of opinions and sand, but you don't. You arrive, and you know immediately you're not on Patmos anymore, because Patmos had dust. Patmos had aches. Patmos had the constant soundtrack of gulls screaming about their feelings. This place has none of that. This place is clean in a way that feels almost rude. You stand, somehow you're standing, on something that looks like a floor, except it's transparent. Not like kinda shiny stone. Transparent like ice, like crystal, like the surface of a perfectly still lake frozen in an instant. You look down and your knees threaten mutiny, because beneath that glassy surface is depth. Not a basement, not a pit. Depth like a sea, except it's not water. It's light, layered and clear, like the idea of purity decided to become architecture. A sea, but it doesn't move. No waves, no ripples, no smell of salt and rot. It's as if the wildest thing on earth, the ocean, has been taken, calmed, and turned into flooring. You take a cautious step because you are still you, and you do not trust anything that looks like it could crack. It doesn't crack. It doesn't even creak. Your foot lands and the surface doesn't give, doesn't shiver, doesn't complain. It's solid in a way that makes stone feel flimsy. You swallow, and the sound of it is small. That's when you realize the room, because it is a room, in the sense that it contains you, has sound in it already, a deep, constant undertone, like standing near a waterfall, like standing inside a bell right after it's been struck. It vibrates in your bones, not painfully, more like everything in you is being tuned. John is beside you, and for the first time he looks appropriately overwhelmed. His shoulders are slightly hunched, like he's bracing against wind, except there's no wind. The air here is still. The air here tastes like cold metal and rain that hasn't happened yet. You lift your eyes, and you forget to breathe for a moment, because there, centered, anchored, impossible, is the throne. Not a chair, not a pretty seat with tasteful carving. A throne, Like authority has a shape and it decided to sit down. It's set in the middle of everything, and everything seems arranged around it without anyone having to arrange it, like gravity is happening, but for reality itself. The one seated there isn't described to you the way people describe people. Your eyes don't land on a face and categorize it. You don't get hair color, height, age, expression. What you get is presence and light. The figure on the throne blazes with colors that hit your brain like strong medicine. Jasper, bright, clear, almost diamond-like. Carnelian, deep red, like embers under ash, like the inside of a pomegranate, like the color your hands would be if you held fire and didn't burn. It's not a spotlight. It's not a glow. It's like the being on the throne is the source code for radiance. You blink hard because your eyes keep trying to adjust the way they would on Earth, and they can't. Your pupils are doing their best and failing heroically. Around the throne is a rainbow, arcing like a ring. Not the soft pastel kind you see after rain. This one looks like it's been forged, and it's emerald. Green, but not leaf green, not swamp green, not the green of olives or moss. This green is sharp and clean, like the color green got washed and scrubbed and became its own pure self. It circles the throne like a promise you can't quite translate. It's beautiful in a way that makes you angry, because why has Earth been working with the bargain bin version of color this whole time? As you stare, the sound deepens. From the throne comes something like lightning, except it isn't lightning. Flashes, pulses, a bright cracking rhythm that doesn't strike down, but radiates out. And thunder, again, not thunder like storms on Patmos, not rolling noise in distant clouds. This thunder feels organized, like power clearing its throat. In front of the throne are lamps, 7 of them blazing, their flames steady and fierce. The fire doesn't flicker like it's struggling for oxygen. It burns like it has all the oxygen it could ever want. The light from the lamps doesn't smear into shadows. It makes everything sharper. You turn your head slowly because you're afraid quick movement might be disrespectful here, or dangerous, or both. And then you see there are other thrones. 24. They're set in a wide circle around the central throne, like an honoring, like a council, like a court that isn't there to argue but to agree. On them sit elders. They're not hunched, not frail. They look ancient and strong at the same time, like age in this place doesn't mean decay. Their faces are lined, yes, but the lines look like experience, not damage. They wear white garments that are actually white, not washed in a bucket and mostly clean. White like new linen under sunlight, white like snow you've never walked through. And on their heads are crowns, gold, heavy, the kind that would hurt your neck on earth, the kind that would make you aware every second that you're wearing status. You can almost feel the weight of those crowns from where you stand. The elders sit with a stillness that isn't stiffness. It's attention, like every atom of them is listening. You shift your weight, and the transparent floor makes you feel exposed. Like standing on glass over a deep well, except the well is light, and your own fear feels embarrassingly loud. Your gaze drifts back to the throne, because your eyes keep being pulled there the way a compass needle keeps choosing north. And that's when movement catches at the edge of your vision. Close to the throne, closer than you feel like you're allowed to be, are 4 living creatures, not animals, not angels with soft children's book faces, creatures. They're positioned around the throne like guardians, like attendants, like living symbols given muscle and breath. The first looks like a lion, not a lion you'd see skulking in tall grass. This is lionness intensified, the idea of courage and ferocity given a body. Its presence makes your chest tighten, like your instincts are trying to decide whether to run or bow. The second is like an ox, massive and grounded, strength without swagger, the kind of creature built to carry burdens without being asked twice. The third has a face like a human, and that's the part that makes your skin go cold, because human features in a place like this feel personal. The eyes of that face, no, the eyes of all of them, seem to see straight through your thoughts like your mind is a thin curtain. The fourth is like an eagle in flight, wings spread wide even while it stays in place. You can't tell if it's hovering or standing or simply existing in a way that ignores physics. All four have wings, 6 each, and the wings aren't soft, feathery comfort wings. They're massive, layered, powerful. When they move, you feel it in the air as a pressure change, like the atmosphere remembers what it was made for. But the worst part, the most unsettling part, is the eyes. They are covered in eyes. Eyes on the front, eyes on the back, eyes along the edges where you don't want eyes. Eyes that look outward, and eyes that look inward, and eyes that make you feel like your secrets are standing in the open, holding a little sign with your name on it. Even under their wings, eyes. It's like someone took awareness and went, yes, but what if we made it medically excessive? You glance at John, hoping for some shared human reaction like, are you seeing this? He's staring at them with his mouth slightly open, like a man trying to drink from a fire hose. No comfort there. The creatures don't look at you the way animals look at strangers. They don't focus. They don't narrow in. It's worse than that. They see everything at once, and they speak, or sing, or declare. It's hard to call it one thing, because the sound doesn't come from one mouth at one moment. It's constant, like breath. Holy, holy, holy. The words roll through the space like waves you can't see, not loud in a harsh way, but so strong you feel your ribs respond, like your skeleton is also participating. Holy, holy, holy is the Lord God Almighty. The phrase repeats and repeats and repeats, without boredom, without drift. You've heard repetitive worship before. On earth, repetition eventually becomes background noise. Someone's voice cracks. Someone's stomach growls. Someone starts thinking about lunch. This is different. Every repetition lands like the first time. It's like the words are bottomless, like they keep revealing more weight, more brightness, more meaning each time they're spoken. Your mind tries to form a neat box around them and fails. Who was and is to come. When they say it, time feels weird. You can't explain it without sounding like a lunatic, but the room feels like it contains past and present and future the way your palm contains a coin. All of it held, all of it known. You feel small, and it isn't humiliating. It's relieving, because on Patmos, small meant vulnerable. Small meant one bad day away from being forgotten. Here, small just means you're not pretending to be in charge. The sound of their worship doesn't echo off walls. It fills the space without bouncing, like the space itself is made to hold it. And every time they give glory, something else happens. The 24 elders respond, not eventually, not after a polite delay. They rise. The movement is unified, smooth, like a tide turning. Their white garments shift, and the fabric looks heavier than earth cloth, like it has dignity woven into it. They step down from their thrones and fall face down before the central throne, not kneeling, not half bowing, full forehead to ground surrender on a floor that looks like it cost the universe a fortune. And then they do the strangest thing. They take off their crowns, those heavy gold crowns, those symbols of honor and authority. They remove them like you'd remove a hat in a house you respect. And they throw them down, not angrily, not carelessly, deliberately, like offering. The crowns land and you expect a clatter, a metallic crash. The sound is more like a deep, satisfying note, like the room itself acknowledges the gesture. The elders speak, and their voices are not thin old voices. They are rich and layered. Worthy are you, our Lord and God, to receive glory and honor and power. The words come with weight. They're not hype. They continue, and as they speak, you feel a kind of steadiness settle over you. For you created all things, and by your will they existed and were created. You hear it, and something in you unclenches. On Patmos, the empire acts like it created the world, like Caesar's moods are the weather, like Rome is eternal. In this room, that claim shrivels. This throne doesn't have propaganda. It doesn't need it. It just is. You look again at the throne, and the flashes still pulse, lightning-like. The thunder sound still rolls, bone deep. The emerald rainbow still encircles a ring of green promise. You realize there's no sun here, no torches, no windows, and yet nothing is dim. Everything is lit from the center. You shift your stance, and the crystal sea beneath your feet catches the light in new angles. It throws up glints, sharp and clean, like a million tiny mirrors. You can see through it, but you can't see the bottom. Not because it's dark, because it's too bright. You try to steady your breathing, but the air feels different going in. It tastes like rain, like cold stone after a storm. It doesn't smell like sweat, smoke, and unwashed wool. It smells like nothing decaying. That alone is disorienting. Your mind, trained on earth, keeps waiting for the gross part, the mildew corner, the animal droppings, the sticky patch on the floor you step around. But here nothing rots, nothing spoils, nothing is halfway to ruin. That doesn't make it sterile. It makes it alive in a way that doesn't leak. The four living creatures keep singing. The elders keep responding. And it doesn't get tiring. It doesn't get repetitive in that dull way. It's more like being in the presence of the ocean and never getting used to the sound. You glance at John again. His cheeks are wet. Not with dramatic sobs. Not with loud crying. Just tears slipping down a weathered face, because what do you do when you finally see the reality behind the reality? When the curtain opens and you realize the stage you've been suffering on is not the whole theater. He wipes his face with the back of his hand like an embarrassed old man. Like, sorry, I didn't mean to leak. You almost laugh, but it dies in your throat because the room is too immense for that kind of noise. Still, there is a warmth in it. Even the awe isn't cold. You think awe would feel like terror, like standing near a cliff edge. This feels like standing near a fire in winter. Powerful, yes, but also good. You turn in a slow circle, trying to understand the scale of what you're in. The space feels endless, but not empty. It's filled with a kind of density, like the air has substance. Like glory is a physical thing, and it presses gently against you from all sides. Somewhere beyond the elders and the living creatures, there are other presences. You can't see them clearly. Not because they're hidden, but because your attention keeps getting pulled back to the center. But you sense multitudes, like a crowd so large you can't pick out individuals, only the collective hum of being. The soundscape is layered. There's the constant holy, 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 like a foundation. There's the elders' response, like deep chords. There's the thunder from the throne, like percussion. And threaded through it all is something like wind through tall grass, like a whisper that isn't words. You try to focus on the one seated on the throne again, and your eyes refuse to treat him like an object. The light is too alive. The colors are too dense. You can't reduce him to features. Your mind keeps wanting to do what it always does: label, categorize, control. But in this room, your mind is a small animal in a big field. It can't fence everything in. You catch yourself gripping your hands together. Your fingers are cold. That doesn't make sense. You're not in wind. You're not wet. You're not exposed. But you're cold the way you get cold when something larger than you looks directly at your soul. Except you don't feel condemned. You feel known. And that is a different kind of intensity. The living creature's eyes seem to sweep over everything, and you get the uncomfortable sensation that they can see your entire life at once. Not just what you did, but what you meant. Not just your words, but what you swallowed back. You don't want that, but you also realize there's no place to hide here, and somehow that's not a threat. It's just true. You look down again through the crystal sea, and a weird thought strikes you. On Earth, seas are where people die. Seas swallow ships. Seas steal fishermen. Seas turn into storms with no warning and no mercy. On Patmos, the sea separated John from everyone he loved. It was a glittering prison wall. Here, the sea is glass. Calm, still, underfoot. It's like all the chaos has been laid flat, made transparent, turned into something you can stand on without fear. You swallow again, and this time your throat doesn't feel tight. It feels settled. The elders throw their crowns again, because this keeps happening in cycles in response to the living creature's praise. The crowns keep landing with that deep note, not clattering, not bouncing away. No one scrambles to retrieve them. No one clutches their status like it's oxygen. They give it up over and over like it's easy, like it's a relief. You can't relate, honestly. On Earth, people cling to power like it's the last warm blanket in winter. They fight over it, kill for it, hoard it, pretend they don't want it while secretly building their whole life around it. Here, honor is offered back to the source of honor. It's so backwards it makes you dizzy. The lightning flashes pulse again. For a split second, the jasper brightness intensifies and the red ember color deepens, and you catch the impression of movement, like the light itself is alive, shifting and breathing. You blink and it's gone. Not gone like it stopped. Gone like your eyes weren't built to capture it. You realize you're trembling, not with panic, with sheer sensory overload. Your body is trying to process heaven using the same equipment you use to process bread. It's not enough. It's like trying to hold the sea in a clay cup. John stands very still, hands loose at his sides, as if he's afraid that reaching out would be disrespectful. He leans slightly toward you, not taking his eyes off the throne, and you hear his voice for the first time since you arrived. It's barely a whisper, and it's full of wonder and exhaustion. I was in the spirit. His words are breathy, like he's reminding himself how he got here, like if he tries to explain it too hard, it will slip away. You nod, because what else do you do? Offer a logical follow-up question. You try to speak, but the sound catches behind your teeth. You don't have the right vocabulary. Your language is made for markets and weather and arguments and hunger. This room is made of something else. The living creatures keep their endless song. Holy, holy, holy. It's not frantic. It's not rushed. It's steady, like a heartbeat that never stutters. You notice something about their wings. With 6 wings, you'd expect constant flapping, a hurricane of feathers. But their wings move with control. 2 seem to cover, 2 seem to lift, 2 seem to extend. They're Motion is purposeful, like choreography that has always existed. When the wings shift, the air moves, but gently. It brushes your face like cool breath. You smell something faint, something like incense without the choking smoke, like spice warmed in a clean pan, like the memory of a temple, except without the blood and panic. That scent brings Patmos crashing back for a second. Smoke from a small fire, the sour tang of sweat, the fish guts on the shore. The contrast is almost funny. You're thinking about fish guts while standing on crystal in front of the throne of God. Your brain is a disaster. You glance around again at the 24 elders. Their faces are calm. Their eyes are clear. They look like people who have been through storms and are no longer impressed by them. When they speak, they don't shout to be heard. They don't need volume. Their voices carry because the room carries them. They fall down, rise, offer crowns, speak worthiness, return to their thrones. It's worship as order, worship as the true center of gravity. And slowly, you realize something that makes your shoulders drop. Nothing in this room is frantic. No one is running in with bad news. No one is wringing hands. No one is whispering, "What are we going to do?" On Patmos, the Empire's power feels like the only power. It feels like a boot on the neck of the world. In this room, the boot is not even a rumor. The throne is. The throne has been. The throne will be. The living creatures say it in their endless way. Who was, and is to come. And even though you're still overwhelmed, still standing on glass over bottomless light, something in you starts to believe that the chaos you came from isn't ultimate. It's real, yes, but it's not the center. The thunder rolls again, and it doesn't scare you this time. It steadies you. You take one more cautious step forward, drawn like a moth. Except you're not being burned, you're being illuminated. The crystal sea beneath you throws back a reflection, and for a moment you see yourself, small, human, out of place. Then a flash of jasper light washes over the surface, and your reflection disappears, like the room has no interest in your self-focus. You lift your eyes again to the throne, and you feel the weight of it. Authority, holiness, life, all of it layered so thick you could almost touch it. The elders' crowns lie scattered at the base, golden circles of surrendered honor. The four creatures keep watch with their impossible eyes, and the singing continues, endless and full, like the universe finally telling the truth about who sits at the center of everything. You think you've reached the peak of strange. You think surely this is as intense as it gets. And then you notice in the right hand of the one on the throne, something held with calm certainty, a scroll, rolled tight, sealed shut, and the room, for all its thunder and singing, seems to lean subtly toward it, as if all creation has been waiting for someone to open what's written there. The scroll sits there in that steady hand like it weighs nothing, but the room treats it like it weighs everything. It's not a cute little parchment with a ribbon. It's a proper scroll, thick and tightly rolled, the kind that makes your wrists tired if you hold it too long. The surface looks like finished hide, smooth and pale, with that faint, warm smell of leather that used to be alive. And it's sealed, not with one seal like a normal person would do, with seven wax seals spaced along the edge like a row of clenched fists, each one stamped hard with an imprint you can't quite catch from where you stand. The wax isn't bright red like some palace stationery fantasy. It's darker, deeper, almost bruised looking, like resin warmed and pressed into obedience. The singing keeps going, holy, 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 steady as a heartbeat. But your attention keeps snapping back to the scroll the way your tongue keeps going to a sore tooth. because whatever is written there feels final, like court records, like last words, like the kind of document that makes everyone stop pretending. A movement cuts through the space, not frantic, not rushed, just decisive. A strong voice, stronger than thunder, cleaner than a trumpet, fills the room from somewhere you can't immediately locate. Who is worthy to open the scroll and break its seals? The words don't echo. They land. They don't sound curious. They sound official, like the universe just called roll in a courtroom. You feel it in your stomach, that little dip of dread you get when someone says, "We need to talk," and you already know it's about you. The question hangs there. The living creatures keep their holy chant, but it shifts slightly, like even their endless song makes room for this moment. The elders don't move. No one fidgets. No one clears their throat. No one does that awkward thing where they pretend to check their sandal like they're busy. It's quiet in a way that makes your ears strain. You look around, because surely someone is going to step forward. This is heaven. This is the throne room. This is the place with 24 elders and 4 nightmare seraphim covered in eyeballs. Surely there's a volunteer list. Surely someone's been waiting for this. But the question has that terrifying second half. Worthy, not available, not powerful, not has free time. Worthy. The voice seems to search the room without turning its head. It's like the question goes out through everything, past the crystal sea under your feet, past the ring of elders, past the creatures and their wings, past the edge of what your eyes can even take in. The question goes down too, down through layers of existence you don't have names for. Heaven and earth, and that shadowy under the earth place. Your childhood stories warned you about. You wait for a response. You wait for a footstep. You wait for the kind of hero moment that usually comes with dramatic music and a gust of wind. Nothing. Not a single being moves toward the throne. Not an elder with a gold crown. Not a bright messenger. Not some towering warrior angel with shoulders like a city gate. No one. And the stillness that follows is not calm. It's heavy. It's the kind of pause right before bad news is spoken aloud. The question hangs there again, and you realize the whole room is listening for an answer that isn't coming. Your mouth goes dry. John beside you shifts like he's suddenly remembering his own bones. His eyes are locked on the scroll with a kind of desperate hope that starts to curdle into panic. Because if no one can open it, what does that mean? On Patmos, when a seal stays sealed, it means someone with power decided you don't get to know. It means orders you can't appeal. It means a sentence already passed. Here, in this clean, blazing place, the sealed scroll feels like the world holding its breath and realizing it might never exhale again. The voice doesn't soften. It doesn't offer a hint. It waits, and the waiting stretches. You become painfully aware of every small sound your body could make. A swallow, a breath, the tiniest shift of fabric. You try to stand extra still because you feel like even a sneeze would be a crime. Then you notice something that makes your chest tighten. John's face. He isn't just overwhelmed now. He's breaking. His eyebrows draw together, his mouth trembles, and his eyes fill up fast, like someone punched a well, and water just surged out. He tries to hold it in for a second, like an old man trying to keep dignity in public. It doesn't work. He starts to weep. Not a single tasteful tear. Real weeping, shoulders shaking, breath catching. The kind of crying that pulls ugly sounds out of you. The kind of crying you do when you've been strong too long and the final thread snaps. In this throne room of blazing color and perfect music, John's grief is the first messy human thing. and somehow it belongs. His tears hit the crystal surface and don't splash the way you expect. They bead up, bright and clear, like the floor refuses to let anything be wasted. John looks wrecked. He's staring at the scroll like it's the answer to every prayer that ever got stuck in his throat. He cries like a man who has watched empires grind people into dust. He cries like someone who has buried friends and seen churches crushed and heard the sea swallow ships and thought, will there ever be justice? Will there ever be an ending that makes sense? He cries like the sealed scroll is hope itself, and hope just got told, no one can open it. You glance around again, half expecting someone, anyone, to step in and say, oh, sorry, I was in the back. Nothing. The living creatures don't stop saying holy. They just sound, for the first time, like they're singing over a wound. The elders stay motionless on their thrones, faces set, eyes fixed forward. Even the thunder from the throne seems to hush, like power itself is waiting. John's tears come harder. His breathing turns ragged, and you feel that uncomfortable helplessness of standing near someone grieving when you can't fix it. You want to put a hand on his shoulder, but you can't quite bring yourself to touch anyone in this place. You don't know the rules, and you don't want to get smited for emotional support. John bows forward, hands braced on his knees, crying down toward the glassy sea. His voice cracks into words you can barely catch. It's not a speech, it's just heartbreak. And the worst part is, the room lets him. No one shushes him. No one scolds him for being dramatic in the throne room. He's small and human, and leaking grief onto the floor of heaven, and heaven doesn't act offended. It just waits. Then, close by, right near the Ring of Thrones, an elder moves, one of the 24. He doesn't stand in a rush. He rises with slow purpose, white garment falling straight, gold crown catching the light like a small sun. He steps down from his throne and approaches John with the calm of someone who has seen storms and knows where they end. He leans in, not towering, not intimidating. His voice is low, steady, almost kind. Do not weep. The words don't land like a command. They land like a hand offered to someone sitting on the ground. John looks up, face wet, eyes red, beard damp, utterly human in the middle of all this radiant perfection. The elder continues, and the room feels like it leans in. Look, the Lion of the tribe of Judah. The phrase carries weight, old and deep, like it's been carved into prayers for generations. The root of David, that one hits like a promise with a long history. He has conquered, so that he can open the scroll and its 7 seals. Conquered. Your mind immediately tries to build an image, because that's what minds do when they hear words like lion and conquer. You think of claws, teeth, roars. You think of a beast pacing in the dark, muscles rolling under fur, eyes like fire. You think of a warrior king with a sword, boots on necks, banners in the air, the whole messy human idea of victory. John's face changes. The grief doesn't vanish, but something shifts under it. Shock, hope, fear, all tangled. He turns his head, searching. You turn too, because the elder said, look, and you are not going to be the one person in heaven who misses the Lion of Judah because you were staring at the floor. Your eyes sweep the space between the elders and the throne. You expect something massive, something that makes the living creatures blink all their eyes at once, something that smells like battle and sounds like a roar. Instead, you see a lamb, just a lamb, small enough that for a heartbeat, you think you're looking at a symbol, not a living being, like a sacrifice animal from a temple courtyard wandered into the wrong room and is about to get gently escorted out by an angel with a clipboard. But this lamb isn't pristine. This lamb looks like it has been slaughtered. It's standing somehow right there in the center, between the throne and the living creatures, in the place that feels too holy for anything to bleed. And it bears the marks, wounds, visible and real, a throat cut that should have ended everything, the kind of injury that on earth means the animal collapses, legs folding, life draining out onto dusty stones while flies circle and priests work fast because decay starts immediately. Only there's no collapse, no draining, no flies. The lamb is alive, standing, breathing. Its wool is not fluffy storybook wool. It's matted in places, darkened around the wounds, like dried blood that never got washed out because nobody had time. The smell is faint, but unmistakable. Iron, like blood on your hands, but without the sour rot you expect. Clean blood, if such a thing can exist. Your stomach flips. Lion. This is what lion looks like? Your brain tries to reconcile the elder's words with what you're seeing and fails loudly, because the lamb's presence isn't weak. That's the strange part. It should be pitiful. It should be fragile. It should make you want to avert your eyes out of discomfort. Instead, it feels centered, like everything else is orbiting it, and only now you're noticing. The lamb lifts its head, and you notice its horns, 7 horns, not 1, not 2, 7. Perfectly formed, curving, solid, the kind of horns that on earth would make you back away slowly, because you enjoy having intact internal organs. 7 horns like strength piled on strength, like power multiplied until it becomes symbolic. And then, because apparently your senses haven't suffered enough, its eyes, 7 eyes, not scattered randomly in a horror way, set with purpose, gleaming and clear, like lamps that see through walls and time. They don't look dead. They look awake. They look like awareness itself, sent out into the world. You feel those eyes touch you, not like a predator sizing you up, but like someone knowing your name when you didn't introduce yourself. You are suddenly aware of how small your own eyes are, how little you see, how much you miss daily, just trying to survive. The living creatures around the throne, those 6-winged, many-eyed declarations of holiness, do not recoil from the lamb. They hold their posture like guards at attention. The elders do not hesitate. They do not whisper, "Is that allowed?" No one treats the lamb as out of place. John stares, tears still on his face, mouth slightly open. You can see him thinking the same thing you're thinking. This is not what conquered looks like in any empire you've ever heard of. The lamb takes a step. The sound of its hoof on the crystal-like surface is soft. A small click that somehow carries through the room. Not loud, but distinct, like the first raindrop before a storm. It walks toward the throne. Not creeping, not timid, steady. Each step feels like a decision. You watch the distance close. Lamb to throne, lamb to that hand holding the sealed scroll. The one on the throne does not flinch. The lightning flashes don't intensify in warning. The thunder doesn't rumble, back off. The hand holding the scroll remains steady, open, waiting. The lamb reaches the throne, and in a motion so gentle it almost breaks your heart, it takes the scroll. No struggle, no dramatic tug of war. The scroll passes from the hand of blazing authority to the mouth and hooves of a slaughtered lamb who is very much alive. The lamb takes the scroll, and heaven erupts. The shift is immediate. It's like the room has been holding its breath for 1,000 years and finally exhales. The 4 living creatures drop, not slowly, not politely. They fall down before the lamb, wings folding, bodies lowering, eyes aimed toward the floor like their gaze itself is an offering. The 24 elders do the same, rising and stepping down and falling forward until their foreheads touch that crystal surface. White garments spread around them like spilled light. Gold crowns tilt and catch and then, one by one, come off again. But now it's different. They aren't only laying their crowns before the throne. They're bowing before the Lamb holding the scroll. One elder's crown lands with that deep note you've heard before, and is joined by another and another until the sound becomes a chord. Like surrender has a harmony, and suddenly there are instruments, harps cradled in the elder's arms, appearing as naturally as breath. Their fingers move, and the sound is not plucked. String the way you know it. It's cleaner, brighter, like music without dust in it. And with the harps are bowls, golden bowls, wide and shallow, held carefully like something precious and fragile. They're filled with incense, not the choking, cheap incense that makes your eyes water in a crowded room. This incense smells layered, resin and spice and something sweet that reminds you of crushed flowers, but richer. It curls upward in slow streams that don't disperse into nothing. The smoke holds together like it has purpose. The scent hits you, and for a moment, your body remembers temple courtyards, animals, sweat, hot stone, blood washing into channels, priests moving fast while people pressed in, hungry and hopeful and anxious. Only here, there's no panic, no screaming goat, no flies doing their evil little job, just incense, lifted like a gift. You realize with a jolt that what's rising from those bowls feels like voices, not spoken words, but the weight of them, like prayers, like every whispered plea that ever got stuck between fear and faith, gathered and carried and finally brought into this room. The elders begin to sing, not the endless holy of the living creatures. A new song. It starts low, like a melody you feel more than hear, and then it rises and fills everything. You are worthy to take the scroll and to open its seals. Their voices are strong, warm, certain. No hesitation now, no waiting, no silence. Because the answer has arrived, and it's standing there with scars. For you were slaughtered, and by your blood you ransomed people for God. The words are heavy, but the tone isn't grim. It's victorious in a way that makes your eyes sting. Not victory through crushing, victory through giving, from every tribe and language and people and nation. As they sing it, you feel the wideness of it. Not a tiny club, not a private invitation, not a nation-sized box, everything. And you made them a kingdom and priests to our God, and they shall reign on the earth. The last phrase lands like a promise that refuses to be airy. On the earth, not floating away, not escaping. On the earth, where people sweat and work and cry and bury their dead. The harps keep ringing bright and steady, and the incense smoke keeps rising. And John is staring like his heart is trying to climb out of his chest and join the choir. You feel it too, that odd pressure behind your eyes. Because the Lamb doesn't look triumphant in the way your world advertises triumph. It looks wounded, and it's still standing. The song doesn't stop with the elders. It spreads, like fire catching. You look out past the circle of thrones, past the living creatures, and you realize the multitudes you sensed before are stepping forward into attention. Angels. So many that counting becomes a joke you don't even attempt. They fill the space in layers, ranks upon ranks, like the sky decided to turn into a crowd. Their voices rise together, and it's not chaotic. It's organized power, like an ocean choosing to sing. They shout, because yes, it's a shout, and your bones feel it. One phrase that hits like a hammer made of light. Worthy is the Lamb who was slaughtered. The sound is huge. It doesn't deafen you, it holds you. To receive power and wealth and wisdom and might and honor and glory and blessing. 7 things. Of course it's 7. This room loves a 7. Power, wealth, wisdom, might, honor, glory, blessing. Words that on earth get thrown around by men with soft hands and hard hearts. Words that get stapled to banners and coins and propaganda. Here, those words don't feel stolen. They feel properly placed, returned to the one who doesn't clutch them like a miser. The Lamb stands there holding the sealed scroll, and the entire throne room is a storm of praise that somehow feels like home. You think it's done. You think surely that's the peak. Elders, creatures, angels too many to count, but the song keeps widening. It spills out past the room, past your ability to picture the architecture, past every boundary you didn't know existed. You hear voices that aren't angels. You hear voices that aren't elders. You hear the texture of creation itself joining in. Every creature in heaven, every creature on earth, every creature under the earth, even the sea, yes, the sea, that old enemy of sailors and exiles, contributes its own vast, shivering chorus. It's like the entire universe, every living thing that ever struggled for breath, turns its face toward the center, toward the Lamb, toward the throne, and they sing, together, in a sound so wide you can't find its edge. To the one seated on the throne and to the Lamb be blessing and honor and glory and might forever and ever. Forever and ever. Not until Rome falls. Not until your troubles end. Not until the next disaster. Forever and ever. Like time itself just got put in its place. The living creatures answer. And this time their response feels like a seal snapping into place. Amen. One word, heavy as a stone, dropped into deep water. The elders fall down again, foreheads to the crystal, and worship like it's the only sane thing left to do. John is still crying, but his tears have changed. They're not the helpless weeping from before. They're the kind of tears you get when something you thought was lost turns out to be held, like the worst fear didn't win. You stand there on that transparent sea, surrounded by sound that makes your ribs hum, and you stare at the Lamb. The Lamb doesn't prance, it doesn't posture, it just stands, wounded and alive, holding the scroll like it belongs in its grasp. The seals are still unbroken for the moment, but now there's no question about whether they will be opened. The whole room knows who can do it, and for the first time since you arrived, since the thunder and the emerald ring, and the eyes and the crowns, you understand why John fell apart. Because it wasn't only about a scroll. It was about whether history has meaning, whether suffering is seen, whether the prayers that sounded like they vanished into air actually went somewhere. And now, in the center of everything, a slaughtered lamb stands breathing, holding the future in its scarred authority. The music continues, wave after wave, and even the thunder feels like it's keeping rhythm. The scroll rests in the Lamb's possession, sealed and waiting. And the entire cosmos, every corner, every depth, every hidden place, stays turned toward the moment that comes next. A voice like grinding stone slips out from one of those living creatures. Come. It's not inviting, it's summoning. The Lamb doesn't flinch. It just lowers its head slightly, like it's reading the room, and brings the first seal toward itself. Up close, you realize these seals aren't decorative. They're thick. They're pressed hard into the edge of the scroll, like someone wanted to make absolutely sure nobody got curious. The Lamb breaks the first seal. The sound is sharp and small, like a twig snapping in a cold fire. but it travels through the throne room anyway, the way a single dropped coin can silence a crowded tavern. The crystal sea under your feet seems to tense. The air changes, not warmer, not colder, just charged, like the moment before lightning decides where it's landing. In front of you, the space opens like a curtain being yanked sideways, and suddenly you're looking somewhere else. Not a gentle vision somewhere else. More like your face got shoved right up against the glass of reality and told to look through. A horse bursts forward, white, not clean laundry white, bone white, sun on salt flat white. Its muscles move like polished stone under tight skin, and it snorts through flared nostrils that look too pink and too alive for something this pale. On its back sits a rider. No grand introduction, no name tag, just a person-shaped decision. He holds a bow, not a cute hunting bow, a war bow, curved and tense, the kind that makes your shoulders ache just looking at it. A crown appears on his head, more like it gets set there by an invisible hand than placed gently. He leans forward like a man who has places to be and doesn't care what's in the way. The horse surges. The rider goes out conquering like it's a job title. You don't see a battlefield yet. You don't see bodies. You just feel the vibe, that hungry, forward-leaning human itch that says, mine, more, now. John's breath catches beside you, because even in a throne room with eyeball creatures and emerald rainbows, this is the part that smells familiar. The lamb lifts the scroll again. A second living creature calls out, voice rolling like thunder under the music. Come. The second seal breaks. This time the snap feels louder, like the scroll itself is protesting. The air ripples, and a horse comes charging out, red. Not pretty fabric red, fresh opened wound red, the kind of red you get on your hands when you try to help, and it didn't work. The rider on this one doesn't carry a bow. He carries a sword. It's big enough that it looks ridiculous until you remember what it's for. It's not ceremonial. It's not shiny for show. It looks like it's been used, like it has tasted metal and bone and isn't picky about doing it again. The rider's posture is casual in the worst way, like violence is a familiar tool hanging on the wall. You feel the meaning land in your gut before anyone says it out loud. Peace gets taken from the earth. Not just your peace, not your private calm. Peace, period. The kind where people don't jump at footsteps, where mothers don't listen for screams, where farmers don't hide grain like it's a crime. And with peace gone, people do what people always do. They start slaughtering each other. It's not even creative. It's the same ancient madness, repeated, with new excuses and the same wet result. The throne room stays bright. The elders stay bowed. The lamb stays steady. But your stomach twists like you just watched someone light a fuse and walk away smiling. The lamb raises the scroll again. A third living creature speaks. Come. The third seal breaks. Now the snap sounds. Dry, like cracking grain, like splitting something that was supposed to feed somebody. A black horse steps forward, not charging like the first two. This one moves with a slow, deliberate heaviness. Its coat drinks the light, turning it into a dull sheen, like oil on stone. The rider holds scales in his hand. Old-fashioned balances, two little pans hanging, swaying slightly as the horse breathes. You can almost hear the clink of metal weights, the tiny, cruel mathematics of survival. A voice rises from somewhere among the living creatures, close enough that it feels like it's spoken right into the center of your chest. A quart of wheat for a day's wage. A pause. And 3 quarts of barley for a day's wage. That's not a price list. That's a threat. That's a world where you work all day and still go home with barely enough to keep your teeth from gnawing your own tongue. You can almost taste it. Bread that's more air than food, stretched with whatever you can grind down. Acorns, husks. Something you shouldn't admit out loud. A little more voice, almost conversational, like the universe is mentioning a minor detail while people starve. Do not harm the oil and the wine. Of course the expensive stuff survives. Of course the things that make life feel fancy get protected, while the basic food turns into a luxury item. The black horse stands there like a ledger made flesh, and you realize something terrible. None of these riders are cackling villains. They're not cartoon monsters. They're just realities given a saddle. The lamb lifts the scroll again. By now, you can feel the whole throne room waiting in the spaces between sound. The fourth living creature calls out, "Come." The fourth seal breaks. The snap this time sounds like a nail pulled from wood. A horse appears, pale, not pretty pale, not porcelain pale. It's the color of old skin, of sickness, of something that's been drained, like the light itself doesn't want to touch it. The rider sits slumped, like he doesn't even need to try. His name hits you before anyone says it, like your body recognizes him the way it recognizes fever, death. And behind him, trailing like a shadow with teeth, comes Hades, not a guy with a pitchfork, not a dramatic underworld king, more like a presence, like the open mouth of the grave following patiently, because it knows it gets fed eventually. Authority is given to them, a quarter of the earth, not a symbolic sprinkle, a fraction big enough to make you start doing math, then stop because the math hurts. They kill with sword, with famine, with pestilence, and with wild beasts of the earth. That last part slides in like an extra insult, as if human history wasn't already doing a thorough job on its own. Now you've got hungry animals joining the party. You can almost see it. A road after a battle, bodies left where they fell. Dogs that stopped being pets a week ago. Wolves pushed closer because the fields are empty and the forests are burning. Even birds watching from poles, waiting. The pale horse stands there, patient, inevitable. No drama, just the end, arriving on schedule. Your mouth feels dry. You swallow and it doesn't help. In the throne room, the singing hasn't stopped completely, but it feels thinner now, like a bright cloth stretched over something jagged. The lamb holds the scroll, and for the first time you understand that opening these seals isn't like opening a present. It's like opening a wound to clean it, necessary and absolutely disgusting. The lamb moves again. The fifth seal breaks. This one doesn't call a horse. No hooves, no rider. Instead, the throne room itself shifts, and you're drawn downward, toward the base of the altar. You didn't notice the altar clearly before, because there are a lot of distracting things in this room, like lightning, like elders throwing down crowns, like creatures with too many eyes and too much confidence. But now you see it, an altar, solid and severe, and under it, there are people, not standing, not sitting, more like gathered, like lives poured out and collected there, pooled in the only place they could go, souls. They don't look like ghost chic cartoons. They look like themselves, only sharpened. All the extra noise stripped away until what's left is pure person. And they're crying out, not sobbing like John earlier. This is different. This is a shout that has been waiting a long time. How long? It's not polite. It's not measured. It's the question you ask when you've been told to wait so many times that wait starts sounding like a lie. How long, Sovereign Lord, holy and true, until you judge and avenge our blood? Under the altar, that detail hits you sideways. Because altars are where blood goes. You can almost smell it now, that coppery tang. Not fresh gore, but the memory of sacrifice, the way stone remembers what has soaked into it. Their words are sharp and honest and completely unsanitized. They're not asking for a cozy answer. They want justice. They want it to stop being safe for people to crush the weak and then sleep well. The throne room doesn't recoil from their anger. No one clutches pearls. No one scolds them for being intense. Instead, something gentler happens. White robes are given to them, not thrown at them like, "Fine, stop yelling," placed on them like dignity, like recognition, like someone saying, "You are seen. You are not forgotten under this altar like spilled oil." They're told to rest a little longer, until the number is complete. Others who will be killed as they were. That line is brutal in its calmness. It's not sugar-coated. It's not dressed up. It's just the awful truth that the story isn't finished, and more people are going to bleed before it resolves. The souls under the altar accept the robes. They don't look satisfied exactly, but they look held. Their cries don't vanish into nothing. They hang in the air like incense, mixing with the prayers already rising from those golden bowls. John's face is tight beside you, his jaw clenched like he's biting back a sound. Because this is what he's been carrying. This is what the churches have been carrying. Not just fear of death, but the slow sickness of wondering if anyone in charge of the universe is paying attention. The Lamb lifts the scroll again. The sixth seal breaks. At first, you think the throne room itself is shaking, because the movement is everywhere, a great earthquake, except you're not standing on dirt. You're on something like crystal, and still it trembles. The tremor travels up your legs into your ribs, into your teeth. You feel it in the places you don't normally feel anything, like your bones just got reminded they're temporary. The vision yanks you outward again, beyond the throne room's clean brilliance. The sky turns black, not cloudy black, black like sackcloth, black like grief clothing, like mourning made into fabric and thrown over the sun. Daylight dies in real time. The moon turns to blood. It's not a gentle red tint like a pretty harvest moon. It's dark and thick-looking, like it's been dipped in something it can't wash off. And then the stars, they fall. Not one or two. Not poetic little shooting stars you make wishes on. They drop like figs from a tree when it gets shaken hard. You can practically hear them hitting the world in your imagination. A rain of bright ruin. The sky splits. It rolls back like a scroll being peeled open. And suddenly, up there, feels thin. Like the ceiling has been removed and everything exposed. Mountains move. Islands shift. The stable things, the things you point at and say, that will still be there tomorrow, start sliding around like they're just props. It's the kind of cosmic unraveling that makes your brain reach for a chair. You don't get one. And then you see people. Not specific individuals, not named characters. Just humanity, in all its layers, reacting exactly the way humanity reacts when it realizes it's not in control. Kings, the kind with crowns and speeches and servants. Great ones. The kind people write songs about. Generals. Rich people. Strong people. Everyone who thought they were safe because they had walls, money, muscle, or status. And also everyone else. Every slave. Every free person. All of them. Suddenly equal in the worst way. They run. They hide in caves and among rocks. They press themselves into the earth like the earth is a mother who might protect them. They call out to the mountains and rocks. Because when panic hits, you'll pray to a boulder if it looks sturdy. Fall on us. Hide us. They don't say, save us. They say, hide us from the face of the one seated on the throne. and from the wrath of the Lamb. That phrase lands weird every time. Wrath of the Lamb. Because lambs, on earth, don't do wrath. They do wandering into trouble and needing rescue. They do being carried. They do being eaten, frankly. But this lamb is the center of everything, and the world is suddenly terrified of being seen by it. Because being seen by holy, truth is not cozy. It's not the same as being perceived by your neighbor. It's exposure. It's your whole life held up in a light that doesn't blink. The great day of their wrath has come, people cry. And who can stand? That question hangs there raw and shaking. Not who can fight, not who can bargain, who can stand, who can stay upright when the universe stops tolerating lies. The shaking continues. The dark sun continues. The blood moon continues. You feel small in the way you feel small during a storm at sea. Not cute small, not humbling small. Small like, oh, I could die, and the sky wouldn't even pause. And somehow, in the middle of that, you're still aware of the throne room, still aware of the Lamb, still aware that this isn't chaos for fun. It's a breaking open. It's the world being forced to face what it's done and what it's become. The vision holds on that terror for a moment longer than you'd like, because it's honest like that. Then it loosens, like a hand unclenching. The Lamb brings the scroll close again. 6 seals are broken now. You can almost see the ragged places where wax used to be, the torn edge where something was held shut and now isn't. The throne room is quieter than it was, not silent, but quieter in the way a crowd gets quiet after someone screams. The living creatures hover, wings still, eyes watching. The elders don't reach for their crowns. They stay low, as if they know better than to stand too confidently at this point. The Lamb touches the final seal, the 7th. This one looks no different from the others, dark wax, firm press, but everyone treats it like a cliff edge. The Lamb breaks it, and everything stops. No thunder, no living creature crying holy, no elders singing, no harps, no swelling choir of angels, nothing. Silence pours into the throne room like water into a dry cistern. It isn't empty silence either. It has weight. It presses against your ears until you realize you've never heard silence this complete. On earth, you can't get this. There's always something. Wind, insects, a distant dog barking like it's paid to be annoying, your own breathing, your stomach making weird decisions, the fabric of your clothes rubbing as you shift. Even in a quiet room, you hear life happening inside the walls. Here, the silence is so total, you start noticing things you normally wouldn't, like the way your heartbeat sounds too loud in your own head, like the tiny click of your teeth when your jaw relaxes and then tightens again, like the fact that you want to swallow, but the sound of swallowing feels disrespectful. John stands beside you, frozen. You can see him fighting the urge to look around like, are we allowed to move? It's not fear of punishment. It's awe mixed with the instinct you get at a funeral when someone starts to speak and you suddenly remember your body exists. Even the incense, smoke seems to hold still, curling upward in slow strands, like it doesn't want to break the hush. The silence stretches and stretches. On earth, half an hour is nothing. Half an hour is waiting for bread to bake. Half an hour is pretending you're going to organize your life and then giving up. Half an hour is a delay, an inconvenience, an awkward pause in a conversation. Here, half an hour is an ocean. Time doesn't feel like it's passing. It feels like it's hovering. You become aware of how loud praise was, how constant, how the throne room was never without sound, never without motion, never without that living current of worship, Now there's only the quiet, and the quiet does something to you. It makes room. It makes space for everything that was shouted, everything that was cried, everything that was begged for under the altar. It makes space for the four horsemen, not as spectacle, but as grim facts. It makes space for the earthquake and the blackened sun, for the terrified hiding, for the question, who can stand? The silence doesn't answer out loud. It just sits there, heavy and attentive, like the entire cosmos has stopped talking so it can listen. You find yourself staring at the lamb. The lamb doesn't move much. It stands with the scroll, now fully unsealed, as if the breaking was never the hard part, as if the hard part is what comes after. The scars on his throat are visible in the quiet, not gory, not fresh, just real. Proof that this authority came through suffering, not around it. The elders remain bowed. The living creatures remain poised, all those eyes unblinking. The crystal sea beneath you is still, perfectly smooth, reflecting the throne room like a mirror that doesn't lie. Your mouth is dry again. You don't lick your lips, because that feels like noise. The silence continues. It doesn't feel empty now. It feels like the inhale before the next thing. Like the universe is bracing, not in panic, but in readiness. Like a judge lifting a hand before speaking. Like a conductor holding the baton in the air, delaying the downbeat until every musician is locked in. Half an hour. Heaven, silent. No song, no thunder, no chorus. Just the lamb holding an open scroll, and the knowledge that what comes next will not be small. 30 minutes of silence, and then the trumpets begin. The first trumpet blast hits like someone slamming a bronze door inside your skull. It doesn't just sound loud, it sounds official, like a decree made out of noise. The silence shatters, and the throne room doesn't ease back into singing. It moves straight into action, sharp and urgent, like a house suddenly full of shouting because the roof is on fire. You see them, 7 angels, standing there with trumpets raised. Not cute little ceremonial horns. These are long, bright things that look like they could double as weapons if the meeting gets hostile. Another angel steps forward with a censer, and you catch it. Hot metal and incense, thick and sweet, the way perfume gets when it's trying to cover up something rotten. Prayers rise with the smoke. Not polite prayers, not church lobby prayers. Prayers with cracked voices, with fingernails bitten down, with names whispered through clenched teeth. The angel takes that censer and flings it, just throws it down toward the earth, like someone tossing a burning pan, because they've had enough. And suddenly there's thunder and rumbling and lightning, and the whole vision lurches, like reality itself just got yanked by the collar. The first trumpet goes. Hail and fire come down mixed with blood. Not a gentle drizzle, not an interesting weather moment. It's violent, stinging ice and flame together, which shouldn't even work, but apparently the apocalypse doesn't care about your physics degree. You can almost smell the scorched sap as trees burn, and the sharp, green bitterness of grass turning black. A third of the earth gets hit, a third of the trees, all the green grass. You try to picture a world with no green, and your brain immediately refuses, like it's protecting you from the mental image. The second trumpet blasts. Something like a mountain, huge, burning, gets thrown into the sea. It's not poetic. It's a chunk of blazing mass crashing down, and you can hear the roar even from here, like an ocean screaming. A third of the sea turns to blood. Not a little red, not sunset reflection red. Blood red, thick-looking wrong. A third of sea creatures die, and a third of the ships are destroyed, and your mind supplies the smells. Rotting fish, wet wood splintering, tar and salt and panic sweat. The third trumpet sounds. A star falls from the sky, blazing like a torch. It hits the rivers and springs, and the name hits your ears, wormwood, and even the word tastes bitter. A third of the waters go bad. People drink anyway, because people always drink anyway when they're thirsty. And you can almost see them gagging, choking, collapsing, water on their lips that should have saved them. The fourth trumpet goes, and this one is quiet in a way that makes your stomach clench. A third of the sun goes dark, a third of the moon, a third of the stars. It's not total night, not yet, but it's like the lights in the world dim, as if someone's saving power. Your skin prickles with the wrongness of it. You look up and the sky feels sick. An eagle? No, it looks like an eagle, but it moves with that same throne room intensity. Cries out in a voice that doesn't belong to birds. Whoa, whoa, whoa. It says it like a warning and an announcement and a judgment all at once, because the next trumpets aren't about trees and water and sky. They're about you. The fifth trumpet blasts, and a star falls to earth. Not a burning rock this time. This one falls like a person falls, deliberate, aimed. A key is given to it, and the key isn't for a treasure chest, it's for a pit. You see it open, the shaft of the abyss, a mouth in the world. Smoke pours out like a furnace door has been kicked wide, thick and oily, and it blots out the sun. The smell hits you even here, hot ash, sulfur, and that weird acidic stink you get when something's burning that absolutely shouldn't be burning. Out of the smoke come locusts. But don't let the word locust lull you into thinking of harmless little bugs in a field. These things have the vibe of a nightmare designed by someone who hates you personally. They're shaped like insects, sure, but also like horses prepared for battle. They've got something like crowns on their heads. Their faces look human enough to be unsettling, and their hair is like women's hair, long, streaming, and honestly rude in the middle of all this. Their teeth are like lions' teeth. They wear breastplates that look like iron. Their wings make a sound like chariots racing, like an army of carts hitting stones at full speed. And their tails end in stingers. It's too much detail. It's the kind of thing that makes you go, who even thought of this? And then immediately regret asking. They swarm. And they don't kill people. They torment them. 5 months of it. You see humans trying to escape their own bodies and not being allowed to. You see mouths open in screams. And the screams don't stop. And in the middle of that swarm, there's a king over them. Abaddon, Apollyon, Destroyer. Even his name sounds like a door slamming. The sixth trumpet blasts, and 4 angels are released at the great river Euphrates. They've been held back, like floodwaters behind a dam, and now the dam is gone. An army rides out, 200 million. You try to count and immediately give up, because counting is for grocery lists and rent payments, not for this. The horses are wrong. Their heads look like lions. Fire and smoke and sulfur come out of their mouths. A third of humanity dies, and you feel the cold shock of it, not as a statistic, but as an absence, like walking into a village and realizing the noise is gone. But even then, even after all that, people don't turn. They keep clinging to their idols, their violence, their thefts, their little private cruelties that feel so normal in the moment. It's awful how familiar it is. The vision shifts, and you're watching John again, your elderly exile friend, standing there like a man trying not to faint, while the universe does cartwheels. A mighty angel appears, wrapped in a cloud, rainbow over his head, face like the sun. His legs look like pillars of fire, which is a nice way of saying, if he steps on you, you become a memory. He holds a little scroll, open, and he plants one foot on the sea and one on the land, like he's claiming the whole place. He roars like a lion. 7 thunders answer. John jolts like he's about to write it down, and then a voice snaps across the air. Seal it up. Don't write that part. You can feel John's frustration like heat. He wants details. He wants control. He wants to pin this down with ink. He's told to take the scroll and eat it. Eat it. Because apparently, in heaven, the filing system is put it in your mouth and deal with it later. John takes it. He chews. You can almost taste it with him. Papyrus and ink. Bitter and sharp, like licking a coin. In his mouth it's sweet like honey. In his stomach it turns sour like bad milk. That's how prophecy is served. Dessert first, then regret. Time rolls forward. 2 witnesses appear, standing in the city, speaking like torches. People hate them, because of course they do. Nobody likes a person telling the truth in a place built on pretending. They're killed. Their bodies lie in the street. The world throws a party, not metaphorically, like gifts and celebration, as if dead truth is the best holiday ever invented. And then, life comes back into them. They stand up. Fear hits the watchers like a wave, and you can almost hear the wet sound of people swallowing panic. A voice calls them up. They rise in a cloud, and an earthquake hits, and buildings collapse, and suddenly everyone remembers they're mortal. The 7th trumpet blasts, and instead of more smoke, more insects, more blood water, you hear voices in heaven, loud, steady, relieved. The kingdom of the world has become the kingdom of our Lord and of his Messiah. The 24 elders fall on their faces again. Of course they do. And the temple in heaven opens, and you see the Ark of the Covenant, like the most sacred thing in Israel's memory, just got unveiled. Lightning flashes, thunder crashes, hail falls again, and the vision doesn't calm down. It goes deeper, because now you're not watching disasters, you're watching the reason they feel so personal. But the dragon's time is running out, and he knows it. The next thing you see is a sign. Not a little sign, a sign in the sky, huge enough that your eyes can't decide where to focus. A woman appears. She's clothed with the sun, not wearing a sunny-colored robe, wrapped in actual light, like the sun has been turned into fabric and draped over her shoulders. The moon is under her feet, like a footstool, like she's standing on the night. On her head is a crown of 12 stars, and the stars don't look like distant pinpricks. They look alive, bright, sharp, humming with presence, and she's pregnant. You can tell immediately, because her whole posture has that tight, forward-leaning tension, that look of someone whose spine is doing unpaid labor. She cries out in the pain of childbirth. Not dainty groaning. This is full body, hands gripping air, sweat and tears travail. You can almost hear it in your own ribs, that deep sound people make when they're being split open by something they want and fear at the same time. And in the same sky, another sign, a great red dragon, 7 heads, 10 horns, 7 crowns. It's enormous in the way mountains are enormous. Too big to feel real, but there it is, filling your vision, blotting out the sense that the world is safe. Its color is raw and violent, like fresh meat under bad light. It has a tail that drags, and when it moves its tail, it sweeps 1/3 of the stars out of the sky, like someone knocking over a lamp. They fall, not gently. They're thrown down to earth. The dragon positions itself in front of the woman, right there, waiting, like a predator at the foot of a bed, like a man outside a house, listening for the sound of a latch. It wants the child. The child isn't even born yet, and you can feel the dragon's hunger like a hot wind. The woman pushes. Her face contorts, jaw clenched, eyes fierce. This isn't a serene nativity scene. This is birth the way birth actually is, holy and messy, and absolutely not something you'd put on a greeting card. The child is born, a male child, destined to rule the nations with a rod of iron, and the dragon lunges. But the child is snatched up, taken up to God and to his throne, like an invisible hand just reached down and said, "No, not today." The woman flees into the wilderness, a place prepared for her, a place of survival, not comfort. You can almost feel it, hot wind, dry mouth, sand in your teeth, the endless inconvenience of walking with no shade. The vision flips again, and now you're looking at war, not on earth, in heaven. It defies logic until you see the armies clashing. Michael appears, an archangel, and he looks like the kind of being that doesn't need to raise his voice to make an entire army sit up straight. His angels are with him, and they move with terrifying precision, like a blade sliding out of a sheath. The dragon fights back, and it's not graceful. It's rage with muscle. It's a living tantrum the size of a continent. The dragon's angels fight too, and the air is full of motion, wings, light, impact. You don't see blood exactly, but you feel hits land like thunder in your bones. The dragon is strong, but not strong enough. It loses ground. It gets pushed back, step by step, like a bully finding out the room isn't laughing anymore. And then it happens. The dragon is thrown down to the earth, and with it go its angels tumbling like sparks from a fire that's been kicked apart. A loud voice fills heaven, not a whisper, not a private message, a proclamation. Now have come the salvation and the power and the kingdom of our God. The voice calls the dragon what it is, the ancient serpent, the deceiver, the accuser, the one who stands day and night pointing at humans like a prosecutor with an endless folder. And the voice says the accuser has been hurled down. It says they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony, not by sharper swords, not by bigger armies, by the Lamb. By refusing to let fear write the final draft, heaven rejoices, but there's no soft ending for earth, because the dragon hits the ground like a meteor made of spite, and when it lands, you feel it, not as a physical quake but as pressure, like the air gets heavier, like temptation suddenly has a pulse. The dragon goes after the woman. Of course it does. It can't get the child, so it turns its rage toward the mother. The woman is given 2 wings of a great eagle, not cute feathered accessories. Real wings, escape, speed, sheer mercy. She flies into the wilderness, to that prepared place, where she's nourished for a time, times, and half a time. Long enough to be hard, short enough to have an end. The dragon spews water from its mouth like a river, trying to drown her. It's disgusting, frankly. It's the kind of image that makes you think of someone spitting, but scaled up to catastrophe. A flood meant to swallow, but the earth helps her. The ground opens its mouth and drinks the river. You can almost hear the slurp of it, the sucking sound of mud swallowing water, the wet gulp of the world itself intervening. The dragon can't drown her. It can't eat the child. It can't win in heaven. So it does what defeated things do. It turns its attention to anyone it can still hurt. It goes off to make war on the rest of her offspring, on the people who keep the commandments of God and hold to the testimony of Jesus. You feel the shift, the cosmic zoom in. This isn't just sky drama anymore. This is the spiritual pressure behind prison doors, behind whispered betrayals, behind the way a government can make you disappear and call it order. The dragon stands on the shore of the sea, and the sea, until now, has mostly been scenery. Now it starts to move, not waves, a presence, churning, the kind of ocean movement that makes sailors pray even if they don't believe in anything. From the sea, something rises, a beast. It looks like it's assembled from nightmares and bad politics. 7 heads, 10 horns, 10 crowns, and on its heads are blasphemous names, like arrogance got printed on flesh. Its body is like a leopard, its feet like a bear's, its mouth like a lion's. It's a mashup of predator parts, like someone went shopping for the worst features possible. The dragon gives it power, a throne, great authority. You watch it move, and you realize why people follow it. It has charisma. It has that forward momentum humans mistake for destiny. One of its heads looks like it's been wounded, slaughtered even, but the wound heals. The world reacts the way the world always reacts to a thing that refuses to die. Awe, admiration, worship. Who is like the beast? Who can fight against it? You can hear the hope hiding inside those questions. People want something invincible to attach themselves to, because being a fragile human is exhausting. The beast is given a mouth to utter haughty and blasphemous words, and it talks. Oh, it talks. It runs its mouth for 42 months, which is long enough to do damage and short enough to be counted. It blasphemes God. It blasphemes heaven. It blasphemes anyone living in the tent of God's presence. And then it does the part that makes your stomach go cold. It's allowed to make war on the saints and to conquer them, not because it's righteous, not because it deserves it, because for a time, that's what the world feels like. Evil getting away with it, while goodness bleeds out quietly. The beast is given authority over every tribe and people and language and nation. It's bureaucracy with teeth. It's empire with a spiritual shadow behind it. People worship it. Not all people, but enough. Enough that resistance feels lonely. Enough that refusing to bow makes you stick out like a clean shirt in a pig pen. A voice cuts through sharp as a nail. If anyone has an ear, let him hear. It's not said like a riddle. It's said like a warning whispered into your face. If anyone is to be taken captive, to captivity he goes. If anyone is to be slain with the sword he must be slain. There's no sugar on it, no inspirational poster version. This is endurance, this is faith, this is surviving without pretending it's fun. The vision shifts again, and you want to break. You don't get on. Another beast rises, this time out of the earth. It looks less obviously terrifying at first. It has 2 horns like a lamb, which is immediately suspicious because you've seen the real lamb. And this is not that. This is cosplay. This is trust me energy in a cheap disguise. It speaks like a dragon. The voice gives it away. It exercises all the authority of the first beast, and it makes the earth and its inhabitants worship the first beast. It's not the main monster. It's the hype man. It performs great signs. It makes fire come down from heaven to earth in front of people. Public spectacle. Proof. The kind of thing that makes crowds gasp and forget to ask who's paying the bill. It deceives the inhabitants of earth. It tells them to make an image for the beast, an icon, a statue, a thing you can point to and fear. And it's allowed to give breath to the image, so that the image can speak, so that it can cause those who won't worship it to be killed. You can feel the horror of it, how oppression doesn't always arrive with claws. Sometimes it arrives with paperwork, with public ceremonies, with the demand that you just say the words, burn the pinch of incense, nod at the statue, prove you're safe. The second beast forces everyone, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on the right hand or on the forehead, so that no one can buy or sell unless they have it. It's not just religion, it's commerce, it's food, it's your ability to exist without begging. It's the ancient version of having your bank account frozen, your name flagged, your business license revoked. It's being made unpersoned with a stamp. The mark is connected to the name of the beast, or the number of its name. 666. The number hangs there like a hook, not because it's a spooky code for bored teenagers, because it feels like a brand, a counterfeit identity burned into the skin of society. You glance at your own hands as if you might find it there. Your palms look normal, but the pressure in the vision is real. The way systems demand your loyalty, the way fear offers you comfort if you'll just cooperate, the way everyone's doing it becomes its own kind of sermon. You're still standing in that throne room reality, but you're also watching Earth. You're watching the beast get worship. You're watching the second beast in force. And you're watching, behind all of it, the dragon, furious, cornered, relentless. It can't reach the throne, so it reaches for people. The air feels tight, like the world is a room with too many bodies and not enough windows. But the vision doesn't leave you there. It doesn't end on the beast's grin. It tilts your eyes upward again, and you remember the first thing you saw, the one on the throne, the emerald rainbow, the sea of glass, the elders who throw down crowns like they're worthless in the presence of actual glory. You remember the lamb, standing, scarred, alive, and you realize the dragon isn't acting like a confident king. It's acting like a desperate criminal with a short clock. It thrashes because it's losing. It bluffs because it's afraid. It makes loud promises because silence would reveal the truth. Its rage is real. Its damage is real. But it isn't endless. You stand there with John, and you feel how this vision is doing something strange and steady. It's not trying to scare you into obsession. It's pulling back the curtain so you can see the shape of your fear, so you can name it, so you can stop confusing the beast for God. The beasts rise. They demand. They mark. They punish. They posture like they'll last forever. But you've already seen the throne room. You've already seen the Lamb take the scroll like it belonged to him. You've already heard heaven go silent, not because it was defeated, but because it was listening. The dragon's time is running out, and he knows it, so he makes noise, so he makes monsters, so he makes people feel alone. But you're not alone in this vision, not with the elders still bowed, not with the living creatures still watching, not with the prayers still rising, stubborn as smoke. And somewhere beyond the beast shouting, beyond the dragon's fury, a different sound is gathering, like distant footsteps on stone, like the beginning of a city's gates creaking open, like a party ending in one place because of their kingdom is already on its way. And then, from the silence, a new sound. Not the sharp, ceremonial blast of a trumpet. This is bigger. It rolls in like the roar of many waters, like thunder that learned how to speak. You feel it in your teeth first. Your molars buzz like someone struck them with a tuning fork. The air changes. Even in this throne room place, where air isn't really air, it shifts like a window just got thrown open over a smoking city. A presence comes down, an angel, bright with authority, stepping into your sight the way a torch steps into a dark house. The whole earth below is lit by him, as if someone aimed a lamp at the world and finally stopped pretending everything is fine. And you can smell it, sweetness on the edge of rot, the perfume of power, the kind of scent that tries to convince you it's clean, while it's actively decomposing. He opens his mouth, and the words come out like a gavel strike. Fallen, fallen is Babylon the Great. It hits like a sentence being carried out, immediately. No appeal, no paperwork, no committee meeting, just down. You look, and Babylon isn't a single building. It's a whole mood. It's an entire way of living stacked into stone and gold and arrogance. It's towers and docks and markets and banquet halls. It's lamps in every window and music in every courtyard. It's the kind of city that never shuts up. It's also the kind of city where you can't walk 3 steps without stepping in something questionable. The streets glitter, sure, but the gutters are full. The angel's voice keeps going, and it's not poetic. It's blunt, like someone listing what's in a house after the guests finally leave. Babylon has become a dwelling place for demons, a haunt for every unclean spirit, a haunt for every unclean bird. You almost laugh at that last part because, honestly, unclean birds are already everywhere. But this feels different. This is the spiritual equivalent of walking into a luxury hotel room and finding out the minibar is stocked with bad intentions, the air vents are whispering, and the carpet has definitely seen crimes. The city below is still glowing with that rich, oily light. It still looks expensive, but now you can see what the expensive lighting was hiding. The angel speaks of nations drinking her wine, her furious, intoxicating luxury. Kings committing adultery with her, like power can't help but crawl into bed with corruption. Merchants getting rich off her luxury. It's the kind of luxury that smells like rot covered in expensive oil. It's not comfort, it's excess. It's the kind of living where even your sandals are embroidered and your bread has spices shipped from a place you've never been, carried by someone you'll never meet, paid with money you'll never miss. Babylon isn't just a city, it's a party that never ends until it does. A different voice cuts in, one that doesn't come from below, it comes from above, from that place where the throne is, where the sea of glass holds everything steady. Come out of her, my people. The words aren't shouted, they're firm, protective, like someone grabbing your sleeve at the last second before you step into a collapsing doorway. So that you do not take part in her sins, the voice continues, so that you do not share in her plagues. Plagues. The word lands heavy, like a wet cloak thrown over your shoulders. This isn't the kind of warning that makes you feel clever. It makes you feel small. Because Babylon is the kind of place people run to. It feeds you. It entertains you. It makes you feel like you matter. It also owns you. And when it goes down, it doesn't send polite little ripples. It sends consequences. You watch as the angel's words turn into motion. The city's glow flickers, not like a candle in a breeze, more like a furnace that just lost its fuel, and you can sense the tally being read out. Her sins heaped high as heaven, her wrongs remembered. Pay her back as she paid others. Give her torment and grief in proportion to the glory and luxury she piled on herself. Babylon says in her heart, I sit as queen. I am no widow. I will never mourn. It's the voice of every empire that thinks it invented permanence. It's the voice of a landlord who refuses to fix the roof because the building's solid, while the ceiling actively drips on your head. The answer comes without drama. Therefore, in one day her plagues will overtake her. One day. Death, mourning, famine, and she will be consumed by fire. The phrase in one day is shockingly rude. Babylon built herself to last forever, and heaven is like, that's cute. You get 24 hours. Below, the city's noises keep trying to continue. You can almost hear music, the clink of cups, the laughter that's too loud because it's hiding panic. But something has shifted. The air has that pre-storm pressure. The kind that makes your ears pop and your skin prickle. You see kings now, real kings. The ones who strutted through Babylon's gates like the world was their personal hallway. They're standing at a distance, not close. They're not rushing in to help. They're not getting their robes smoky. They're not risking their nice sandals. They're far enough away to keep their eyelashes unsinged. They watch the smoke of her burning rise, and they wail. Not a dignified cinematic tear. This is ugly crying. This is grown men with crowns on, making the kind of sound you make when you realize the ship is sinking and you left your favorite cloak below deck. Woe, woe to you, great city, they cry. Babylon, city of power. And then they say it, the phrase that tastes like disbelief. In 1 hour your doom has come. 1 hour. It's worse than 1 day. 1 day at least lets you pack. 1 hour is your entire world turning into ash while you're still trying to remember where you put the good wine. The kings beat their chests, and you can feel how pathetic it is. Not because grief is pathetic, because it's grief with an escape route. They're mourning from a safe distance, like they're watching a neighbor's house burn while checking their own insurance policy. And the merchants, oh the merchants, they show up like flies to a fruit stand. These are the people who loved Babylon with their whole inventory. The people whose hearts are shaped like coin purses. They stand far off too. Everyone stands far off. Babylon can burn, but nobody wants to be inconvenienced. They weep and mourn, and you can hear it in their voices. It isn't her they're mourning. It's the sails. No one buys our cargo anymore, they sob, and it comes out like a personal tragedy. No one buys their gold. No one buys their silver. No one buys their jewels and pearls. No one buys their fine linen, the stuff so soft it feels illegal. No one buys their purple cloth, dyed the color of bruised royalty. No one buys their silk, their scarlet fabric, their fancy garments that drag through streets that have never been clean. You can almost see the bolts of cloth stacked in warehouses, untouched, now meaningless. Purple doesn't matter when the city is on fire. The list keeps coming, and it's so specific it feels like a receipt being read aloud at the end of the world. All kinds of scented wood, ivory, articles of costly wood, bronze, iron, marble, cinnamon, spice, incense, myrrh, frankincense, wine, olive oil, fine flour, wheat, cattle, sheep, horses, chariots. It's ridiculous. It's endless. It's the shopping list of a civilization that thinks meaning can be imported. You can smell it as the words tumble out. Cinnamon and smoke, oil and ash, perfume thick enough to coat your tongue. You can feel the weight of it. Ivory carved smooth by hands that didn't own themselves. Marble hauled by backs that never got to rest. The merchants keep wailing, and somewhere in the middle of that luxury laundry list, the last item arrives. Human souls, not servants, not labor, souls. The word drops through the air like a stone through water. Everything in you goes quiet for a second, like your body pauses to decide how to react. Gold, silver, pearls, fine. Horrible, but familiar. Perfume, silk, chariots, gross, but expected. Human souls. That's when the whole thing stops being a dramatic city-burning scene and becomes personal. Because souls isn't a commodity. It's not cargo. It's people. It's children with dirty knees. It's men with calloused hands. It's women carrying water jars until their shoulders ache. It's prisoners. It's the invisible ones. It's the ones Babylon swallowed and turned into profit. Now Babylon is burning and the profit is gone. And the merchants are crying like they lost a pet. You watch them clutch their robes, their rings flashing in the firelight, and you can almost smell them. Sweat under expensive oils, fear trying to hide behind Cologne. They cry out, "What city was like this great city?" They throw dust on their heads, which is a bold choice when you spent a lifetime paying people to keep you dust-free. They wail, "Woe! Woe to you, great city!" They talk about the ships. The ships matter because ships are money you can float. They say, all who had ships on the sea became rich through her wealth. And then they choke out the same stunned phrase, "In 1 hour, she has been brought to ruin." You look toward the sea, and the docks are chaos. Sailors stand with their mouths open, staring at the smoke. Shipmasters, seafarers, anyone who makes a living moving other people's luxury from one place to another, they're all watching like their jobs just evaporated. The sea is usually loud, waves, rigging, gulls screaming like they're filing complaints. But right now, even the sea seems to hold its breath, because the great city is burning, and it's not burning like a controlled fire, like a hearth that warms you. It's burning like a judgment. Flames crawl up walls that used to feel immortal. Windows glow like angry eyes. Smoke lifts into the sky in thick, black columns, and you can taste it. Bitter, greasy, full of things that used to be beautiful. You know that smell when expensive fabric catches fire. It's not like wood. It's sharp and chemical, like the air itself is offended. And underneath that, there's always the same bass note. Charred flesh, wet ash, the unmistakable stink of something living turned into something else. The city that never slept is suddenly very, very tired. The voice from heaven speaks again, not to the merchants, not to the kings, but to the sky itself. Rejoice over her, O heaven. You feel the strange twist of it. Rejoice? Not because suffering is funny, because oppression doesn't get the last word. Because the city that sold souls like cargo doesn't get to keep bragging forever. The vision swings, and it's like you're being walked through Babylon streets while it collapses. You pass a marketplace that used to be full of shouting. Now it's empty. Stalls are overturned, baskets spilled, figs and olives rolling in the dust like they were dropped in a hurry. You step on something sticky. It might be wine. It might be something else. In Babylon, it's always something else. You pass a perfume seller's booth. Little jars lie broken, leaking their last sweet smells into the dirt. It's tragic in the way a ruined feast is tragic, wasted abundance. But it's also grotesque, because that sweetness was always a cover. You round a corner and see an alley where the air is cooler, the kind of place the rich never walk. The stones are damp with old fluids. The walls are stained. You see a chain on the ground snapped, and for a moment your throat tightens. Souls. You can't stop hearing it. Further in, you glimpse a banquet hall. Tables are still set. Plates sit untouched. A half-eaten loaf of bread lies on its side like someone stood up mid-bite. There are goblets tipped over, wine bleeding across the tablecloth like an accusation. The party didn't end politely. It ended like someone yanked the floor out. You hear footsteps, running. Not orderly evacuation. This is panic with sandals slapping stone, people shoving, elbows flying. You catch the smell of fear sweat, sour and immediate, cutting through the incense like a knife. The same people who once moved slow in Babylon, slow like they owned time, are now sprinting like they just remembered death exists. And it's not just the rich running. Everyone runs when the city starts to fall. The difference is, some people run towards safety. Some people run because they've always been running. You see the temples, big, impressive, carved, polished, adorned. Smoke coils around there, columns. Statues stare straight ahead, doing absolutely nothing, because that's what statues are best at. The god of stone isn't getting anybody out. The god of gold isn't catching anyone as they fall. You can almost hear the silence behind all that carved confidence. You look up and see the towers again, those proud silhouettes. One of them cracks. Not dramatically, not with a heroic collapse. It cracks like a cheap bowl dropped on a hard floor. A shudder runs through it. Dust bursts out of the seams. Then the whole thing starts to come down, slow enough for everyone to understand what's happening, fast enough for no one to stop it. The rumble is low at first. It grows into a roar. Stone grinds on stone. The air fills with grit, and it sticks to your teeth. You blink, and your eyelashes feel heavy with dust. Somebody screams a name. Somebody else screams without words. The tower collapses, and the impact punches the ground like a fist. You feel it in your knees. You taste blood where you bit your tongue. Babylon thought it would last forever. Babylon built like it had nowhere to be. Now it's falling like everything else that ever pretended to be God. The vision widens again, pulling you back to a distance where you can see the scope of it. It's not just one building. It's the whole city getting dismantled, not by an army marching in, not by some heroic siege with banners and trumpets, by the sheer finality of the moment, like a clock striking the hour. There's another angel now, and he's doing something so blunt it almost feels comedic. He picks up a stone, not a pretty stone, not a polished gem, a boulder, a millstone, the kind of thing you use to grind grain, heavy enough that you don't move it without commitment. He lifts it like it's nothing, which tells you a lot about angel arm strength and absolutely nothing comforting about your own chances in a wrestling match. He hurls it into the sea. The splash is massive. You hear the water swallow it. Deep, thick, final. And the angel says, "With such violence the great city Babylon will be thrown down and will be found no more. Found no more. Not rebuilt, not recovered, not rebranded, no more." The words keep coming, and they're not about fire and smoke anymore. They're about absence. The music of harpists and musicians, pipers and trumpeters will never be heard in you again. You can almost hear Babylon's music in your memory. Lutes, drums, laughter spilling into streets, the endless soundtrack of people trying not to think. Now you hear the lack of it. No craftsman of any craft will be found in you again. No hammering, no chisels, no shouted bargaining, no clatter of workshops. The sound of the mill will never be heard in you again. No grinding grain, no daily bread, no ordinary life. The light of a lamp will never shine in you again. You picture it, a single oil lamp in a window, the warm dot of light that says someone is inside, gone. The voice of bridegroom and bride will never be heard in you again. No weddings, no celebrations that aren't forced, no future being planned with trembling hands, just quiet. And the quiet isn't holy, it's empty, because Babylon wasn't built for life, it was built for consumption. When consumption ends, there's nothing left to make noise. The smoke continues to rise, a long exhale of the city's last arrogance. You can still smell luxury burning, silk and oil, wood soaked in perfume. It's sickening, sweet and nauseating. Like someone spilled an entire bottle of cologne on a corpse. You watch the kings and merchants still standing at their safe distance, still doing their dramatic mourning. They aren't rushing in to rescue anyone. They aren't trying to save the people who were cargo. They're just staring at the ruin like it's a cancelled festival. Some of them are calculating already. You can see it in their eyes. Where will we trade now? Who will buy our cinnamon? Where will we sell our horses? They don't say it out loud, but their faces do, and you feel that familiar disgust. the one you felt before in your own world, in smaller moments. The way someone can watch a disaster and immediately ask, so what does this do to the market? Above though, the atmosphere shifts, because heaven isn't mourning Babylon. Heaven is relieved, not giddy, not cruel, relieved, like a pressure headache finally lifting. You hear a great multitude, like a crowd that can't fit inside one throat. Hallelujah. The word is thick with meaning, heavier than a chant at a parade. Hallelujah. Salvation and glory and power belong to our God. You hear it ripple through the unseen ranks, through beings that never needed Babylon's gold, because heaven has never been impressed by wealth. Not this kind. You hear another hallelujah, and then another, and it builds like waves. The smoke of Babylon goes up forever and ever, and that phrase doesn't feel like gloating. It feels like a sign on an old ruin. This is over. This doesn't come back. The 24 elders fall down again. Of course they do. They do it the way someone does when the truth finally wins without needing your help. The living creatures answer, Amen. Hallelujah. It's loud, but it isn't frantic. It's the sound of a courtroom after the verdict, when everyone realizes the abuse is finally being named for what it is. A voice comes from the throne, telling all God's servants to praise. And then the sound swells. It becomes that roar again, many waters, mighty thunder, and you feel small in the best possible way. Not small like you don't matter. Small like you're not responsible for holding up the universe with your bare hands. Babylon falls, the smoke rises, the music stops. Below, the world still has fires and rubble and terrified people stumbling through the dust. You don't get a neat montage of recovery. You get the silence after the party ends. You know that silence. You've heard it after a loud gathering, when everyone finally leaves and the adrenaline drops. Only this isn't a living room with empty cups. This is an empire with empty streets. You hover there with John, and you can almost feel his old bones aching from the weight of what he's seen. You can almost hear the waves around Patmos in the back of his mind, steady and ordinary. This vision doesn't let you forget the ordinary, because Babylon wasn't just big evil somewhere far away. Babylon was a marketplace, a contract, a dock, a banquet. Babylon was bread and wine and money changing hands. Babylon was the way comfort can make people cruel without noticing. Now it's quiet. No harps, no mills, no lamps in windows. Just smoke thinning in the air, ash settling on stone, and the sea swallowing a millstone like it was always meant to. And in that quiet, another sound waits, beyond the ruins. Not the sound of another beast rising, not the sound of merchants arguing over what comes next. A different kind of approaching, like footsteps on clean streets you haven't seen yet, like gates opening somewhere far off, not to keep people out, but to let something in. A city that doesn't climb upward in arrogance, a city that comes down like a gift, steady and bright, while Babylon's last embers fade into the dark. Ever stood in the ash of an empire and wondered what comes next? You're still tasting Babylon in the back of your throat. Burnt perfume, wet ash, that sharp chemical bite of expensive things dying badly. Your eyes sting like you've been crying, even if you haven't. Everything feels scraped raw, like the vision itself sanded you down. So after all of that, the dragons, the beasts, the silence, the singing, you brace yourself for the next horror. Another monster, another plague, another grim headline carved into the sky. Instead, the air changes. Not smoke-cleared change. More like the whole universe takes off a filthy robe and drops it on the floor. The heaviness lifts. The background dread you didn't even realize you were carrying starts to loosen its grip, finger by finger. You look for the sea, because there's always a sea somewhere in the back of the picture, churning and restless, full of hidden teeth and sudden storms. The sea is where the beast climbed out, dripping and smug. The sea is what separates islands and swallows ships and turns brave men into prayers. But now, no sea. Not drained, not frozen, not tamed into a decorative pond. It's simply not there, like someone removed a whole category of fear. The horizon isn't a line of threat anymore. It's open, calm, almost startling. Your ears keep waiting for waves. Nothing arrives. And you realize how loud chaos has always been. The ground under you feels different too. Solid in a way Earth rarely is. No tremor underfoot. No sense that reality is about to crack again. It's like standing on a floor that doesn't complain when you shift your weight. Above you, the sky looks freshly made. Not pretty sunset, fresh. Fresh like new linen you don't deserve. Fresh like a room after someone finally opens the windows and beats the dust out of the rugs. And you're just standing there blinking, thinking, I forgot air could be like this. The old sky, smoke-stained, war-stained, prayer-stained, doesn't dominate the view anymore. It's gone. And with it, that familiar feeling that everything is temporary in the worst way. A voice rolls through, close enough to feel personal and big enough to rattle your ribs. Look, God's dwelling is with people. You flinch a little because you're used to God's being far away. God's on mountains. God's behind curtains. God's in temples that smell like blood and incense and old stone. This voice isn't offering distance. It's moving in. It's saying the holy isn't staying behind the velvet rope. He will dwell with them. They will be his people. You feel the words settle like warm weight across your shoulders, the way a cloak settles when it actually fits. Not tight, not choking, just right. And then the promise comes, simple and almost offensively kind. He will wipe away every tear. Not you'll learn to cope, not time heals, not try harder. Wiped away like a thumb across a wet cheek. Like someone close enough to touch your face without you bracing for harm. No more death, the voice says. No more. Not reduced, not delayed, not only sometimes, just gone. No mourning, no crying, no pain. Your body barely recognizes the concept because your body is basically a scrapbook of pain. Old injuries, bad sleep, headaches from stress, the weird ache in your jaw from clenching without meaning to. Pain is so normal, it's practically furniture. But the voice keeps going, steady as the sea of glass used to be. The former things have passed away. Former things. Like death is being demoted to that old problem we used to have. Like grief is a broken tool tossed in the corner. Like fear is an outfit you don't need to wear anymore. The space around you feels wider, like the world has stopped crowding you, like you're not constantly one bad day away from collapse. And then you see it. At first it's just light, far off, bright enough to draw your eyes, soft enough that it doesn't hurt. It's coming down out of the sky, and your mind tries to file it under meteor or angel or please, not another sign. But it isn't falling. It's descending, deliberate, controlled, like a lantern lowered on a rope, like a gift being carried carefully so it doesn't spill. A city, not the Babylon kind, stacked up by human hunger and held together with exploitation and denial. This city doesn't claw its way up to the heavens like it's trying to pick a fight. It comes down. You watch it approach, and it's dressed like a bride. Not in the delicate, scented powder way, where everyone pretends weddings aren't stressful. This is a bride prepared, adorned, intentional, like the whole thing has been made ready with care instead of panic. It isn't trying to seduce you, it's trying to come home. As it lowers, the details sharpen, and your brain does that thing where it starts whispering, "This is too much. This is too clean. This can't be real," because you're used to cities being loud and dirty and constantly leaking something. This one gleams. The walls catch the light like water catches the sun, except it's stone, and it should look dead. Instead, it looks alive, like it's lit from inside. The wall is jasper, not a tiny, polished pebble you wear on a string. Jasper like an entire fortification made out of jewel. You stare at it and feel mildly insulted on behalf of every crumbling mud brick wall that ever tried its best. The city has a great, high wall, and for once, high wall doesn't feel like a threat. It feels like safety without cruelty. You move closer and you see gates. 12 of them, set into the wall like someone decided symmetry should be comforting instead of boring. Each gate has an angel standing there, not lounging, not yawning, not scrolling on a celestial clipboard, just standing, present. Like the city has doorkeepers who don't take bribes, the gates have names on them. Names that feel old in your mouth, like family stories told around firelight. The names of the tribes of Israel, carved into the entrances like this whole place remembers where it came from. 3 gates on the east, 3 on the north, 3 on the south, 3 on the west. No side is the bad side, no back entrance, no corner where you're shoved in because you don't belong. Every direction gets a welcome. You glance along the wall and notice something else. Foundations. 12 foundations, thick and heavy and set like the city has no intention of ever wobbling. And on the foundations are names too. The apostles, the ones who got sent out with nothing but a message and a bad travel experience. Their names are there like a quiet insistence. The whole story mattered. The whole messy chain of people mattered. The angel nearest you carries a measuring rod, and you immediately feel the urge to step back because measuring rods mean inspections, and inspections mean you're about to get in trouble. But the angel isn't measuring you. He measures the city. You watch him pace, and every movement is smooth, like he's never stepped in a pothole in his life. He measures the city's length, then its width, then its height, and your mind tries to keep up. It's a perfect cube. Length equals width equals height. A city shaped like a sanctuary, like the holiest place in the old temple, multiplied until it becomes a home big enough for everyone. The numbers are enormous, more than you can picture without your brain turning it into a child's drawing. It's not a human city scale. This is not nice little walkable downtown. This is reality itself has room now. The wall gets measured too, thick, substantial. Not a flimsy fence, not a suggestion. It's protection you can lean on. And then your eyes return to the gates because you keep thinking you misunderstood. Each gate is a single pearl. Not pearl inlaid. Not decorated with pearls. A single pearl carved and shaped into an entrance large enough for crowds. You look at one and try to imagine the creature that produced it. Your mind supplies a clam the size of a fortress, sulking in the depths, offended by everything, generating a pearl out of pure spite. The gate gleams with that soft, eerie glow pearls have, like moonlight got trapped in something smooth. It's beautiful in a way that makes you laugh a little, because it's so extra. A pearl gate. Who does that? Someone who isn't worried about scarcity, apparently. Inside the gates, you expect the usual city experience. You expect noise first, shouting Animals, carts, arguments, somebody selling fish too close to your face. You expect smells, sweat, smoke, sour wine, and the ever-present undertone of "we do not have plumbing." But when you step through, the silence isn't empty. It's clean. There's sound, but it isn't chaos. It's like walking into a place where nothing is screaming for your attention. No panic, no hustle, no background hum of danger. The street beneath your feet stops you cold. Gold, but not the dull, chunky gold of a king's necklace. Not the "look how rich I am" gold that leaves green marks on sweaty skin. This gold is transparent, gold like glass. You can see through it, like wealth has been turned into something you can walk on instead of something you kill for. It's so strange your brain keeps trying to call it crystal, because gold isn't supposed to behave like this. You look down and see light passing through the street, and it hits you how different that is. In Babylon, the wealth sat on top, heavy and hoarded, pushing everything else into the gutters. Here, the rich part is literally under your feet, useful, stable, not worshipped. You keep walking, half expecting some official to stop you and ask for papers. Nobody does, half expecting to be shoved aside by someone important. Nobody is, half expecting a pickpocket, because your body has learned city's equal threat. Nothing brushes your hip. No one bumps you. No one eyes you like you're a meal. You see people, nations, languages, faces, and nobody looks like they're bracing. Nobody's flinching at sudden movements. Nobody is clutching their bag like it contains their entire survival. A laugh rises somewhere nearby, and it doesn't have an edge. It's just laughter. You realize you've heard laughter your whole life, but it's usually been mixed with something, with performance, with cruelty, with coping, with wine, with someone trying not to cry. This laughter doesn't taste like anything bitter. You lift your head to find the center of the city, expecting a temple, because every city has a temple. Every people group has their holy building where the air gets thick with rules and the floor gets sticky with spilled offerings. You expect columns, curtains, altars, that metallic tang of blood. There's no temple. For a second, your stomach drops, because no temple feels like no God, like abandonment. But the presence here is so dense you could lean against it. God is the temple. The Lamb is the temple. The whole city is saturated with the kind of holiness you don't have to schedule. No special access, no inner ring. No, only these people can come closer. There's no need for sun or moon either. You realize that slowly, the way you realize you've been holding a muscle tight for hours. The light doesn't come from above. It comes from within, from that throne presence at the center of everything. The glory of God gives it light, and the Lamb is its lamp, a living lamp. It should be unsettling, but it isn't. It's steady. There's no night here, not because time has been erased, but because darkness doesn't get to own a chunk of the day anymore. The hours aren't split into safe and dangerous. You don't have to plan your life around daylight. The city's gates are open, always. Not open during business hours, not open unless there's trouble, not open unless you're the wrong kind of person. Open, and you stand there a moment, staring at the open gates like you've never seen that in your life, because you probably haven't. Cities close their gates when they're afraid. They close their gates when they're greedy. They close their gates when they've decided they're full. This city doesn't shut them. Nothing comes in to harm. Nothing sneaks in. Nothing contaminates the place. The only things excluded are the things that destroy. Uncleanness, lies, the old rot that made Babylon possible. It's not a bouncer keeping you out because you're not shiny enough. It's a refusal to let the disease back in. You walk farther in, drawn toward a sound you can't place. Not music exactly. Water. You follow it like your body remembers thirst on a cellular level. You've carried water jars. You've tasted stale cistern water that smells faintly of algae and dead bugs. You've drunk from wells where the rope was slimy and the bucket tasted like old wood. This water sounds different. It isn't slapping stone in a gutter. It isn't trapped and hoarded and sold. It's running because it can. You turn a corner and there it is. A river. Clear as crystal, bright as if it's holding light inside itself. It flows from the throne of God and the Lamb, right down the middle of the city street like the city was built around it, not the other way around. In your world, rivers in cities are either work or danger. They're for washing, for hauling, for dumping things you don't want to think about. They carry trash. They carry sewage. They carry the consequences of thousands of bodies crammed into a small space. This river is clean, not looks clean until you get sick. Clean like it would make your hands feel new. You kneel without thinking, and the moment your fingers touch it, you feel the shock of cold. Pure, sharp, alive. It doesn't smell like mud. It doesn't smell like fish. It doesn't smell like anything. It just is. You cup your hands and drink. The water is sweet without being sticky, cold without hurting. It slides down your throat like it knows where all the dry places are. You swallow and realize you were more thirsty than you admitted. On either side of the river, trees rise. A tree, really. One life pouring out in abundance, somehow on both sides at once, as if the city isn't bound by your normal geometry. Its trunk is thick, its leaves dense, and it looks like it's never fought for survival. No twisted branches from harsh winds, no scarred bark from drought, no desperate scrabbling roots searching for moisture like a starving hand. This is the tree of life, and it's loaded. 12 kinds of fruit. Not seasonal, not wait your turn, not sorry. This year the crop failed. Fruit every month, like the tree is refusing to participate in scarcity. You see clusters and colors that make your mouth water. Figs maybe, but brighter. Pomegranates, but without that faint bitterness that makes you work for the sweetness. Dates without the dust. Grapes that look like they'd burst with juice if you breathe too hard. You reach up and take one because nobody is slapping your wrist. The skin is cool. The fruit is heavy, like it's not hollow with disappointment. You bite. It's the taste of being fed without being used. It's the taste of a table where nobody's counting what you owe. Juice runs down your wrist, and you laugh under your breath because of course it does. Of course, paradise is still messy in the small human way. You lick your wrist, shameless. The leaves shimmer overhead, and you notice something else. The leaves are for healing. Not symbolic, not decorative. Healing like wounds closing. Healing like the kind of repair you'd pay anything for if you'd ever watch someone you love fade away. Healing like the end of infection. Healing like memories losing their claws. You stand there, fruit in hand, and you realize you're waiting for the catch, for someone to say, but only if you're pure enough, but only if you paid enough, but only if you stayed strong enough. No catch arrives. There's no curse here. That word, curse, feels like a shadow you didn't know you lived under until someone turned the light on. The old twist in things. The way work turns into toil. The way love turns into loss. The way bodies betray you. The way the ground grows thorns like it's angry. No curse. The throne sits at the city's heart, not hidden behind curtains, not guarded by a maze of rituals. It's present, and the presence doesn't burn you away. It holds you. The servants of God worship him, And that word worship doesn't feel like groveling here. It feels like finally seeing what's true and not having to pretend. You look around and realize people are seeing his face. His face, that's not supposed to be possible. In every story you've ever heard, seeing God is the end of you. Too bright, too much, too holy. But here, it isn't death. It's life. Names are written on foreheads, not marks of ownership like the beast demanded. Not brands, not barcodes for commerce. Names like belonging. Like someone looked at you and didn't see useful or profitable or replaceable. They saw you, and you don't have to keep proving it. You wander through the city and notice the nations walking by its light. Kings bring their splendor in, not as a flex, not as a threat, but like offering up whatever was good in their cultures, whatever was beautiful, whatever was true, now purified of the grime that used to cling to everything. You can almost feel old rivalries dissolving, old borders losing their teeth, languages becoming music instead of weapons. There's a gentleness in the air that doesn't feel fragile. It feels strong, like steel that decided to be kind. You remember Babylon's markets, how everything had a price tag, even souls. Here, the whole place feels like the opposite of a price tag. It feels like a gift. You realize there are no beggars pressed against walls because nobody has to beg. No guards shaking down travelers at the gate because nobody's hungry for power. No alleyways that smell like old urine and fear. No children sleeping curled in doorways, trying to become small enough to be ignored. No women walking with keys between their fingers. No men trying to look tougher than they feel. It's not that people have become less human. It's that the world isn't feeding on them anymore. You pass a corner where, in any normal city, there would be trash, rotting scraps, broken pottery, animal droppings, that mysterious damp patch you avoid because you respect yourself. There's nothing, not even a scrap pile, not even flies. You catch yourself almost missing the flies, which is insane, and you have to sit with that for a second. Your brain has lived so long with filth that cleanliness feels suspicious. But this isn't sterile, it's alive. The air smells like water and fruit, and something like rain on warm stone, the kind of smell that makes your chest feel wider. You keep walking, and the city keeps unfolding, streets branching, courtyards opening, spaces designed for people to be together without crushing each other. And you notice something. Nobody's rushing. Nobody's late. Nobody's performing productivity like it's a god. There's no frantic, make it before the gates close, because the gates don't close. There's no anxious, finish before dark, because there is no night. You realize your shoulders are dropping lower and lower as you go, like your body is finally accepting it doesn't have to armor up. A voice speaks again from the throne, and this time it feels like it lands directly in the center of your chest. Behold, I am making all things new. Not, I'm making new things. All things new. The same earth remade. The same creation healed. Not tossed aside like a failed project. Renewed like something loved. You remember the old earth. The one with prisons and crosses and beasts and hunger. The one where empires rose and fell and crushed whoever was unlucky enough to be in the way. You remember the sea, the chaos, the separation. You remember storms that made fishermen weep. You remember bodies in the water. You remember the way the horizon could hold danger and you'd never know until it was too late. No sea now, no chaos breeding ground, no place for monsters to crawl up from and demand worship. You think of the old tears too, the secret ones in the dark, the public ones you regretted because they made you look weak, the ones you swallowed until your throat hurt, wiped away, not mocked, not minimized, not weaponized, touched and removed like they mattered. You move deeper into the city and see the light reflecting off everything, of jasper and sapphire, of agate and emerald, of onyx and carnelian, of chrysolite and beryl, of topaz and chrysoprase, of jacinth and amethyst. The foundations are jeweled like someone raided the whole earth's hidden beauty and used it as building material. It's ridiculous. It's also fitting. Because if Babylon could build itself out of stolen wealth and call it glory, this city answers with beauty that doesn't come from exploitation, beauty that doesn't leave bodies in the gutter, beauty that doesn't stink when it burns. You run your hand along a wall and feel its cool smoothness. It's real. It's solid. It isn't a dream fog vision you'll forget when you wake up. And while you stand there, hand on jasper, you realize something else. You don't feel watched in the bad way. You feel seen in the safe way. There's a difference. In Babylon, eyes meant surveillance. Eyes meant suspicion. Eyes meant someone measuring your value or your weakness. In this city, being seen doesn't shrink you. It steadies you. You keep expecting the sound of a funeral because you've heard funerals your whole life. Even if you haven't attended one, you've heard the sound of loss in voices. You've heard the wailing, the tearing of cloth, the stunned quiet, the awkward words people say when death is in the room. But there are no funeral sounds, no mourning songs, no last breaths, no graves outside the walls, packed tight because land is expensive and death is relentless. No more death. It doesn't feel like denial here. It feels like relief so deep it's almost hard to take in. You wander back toward the river and sit on the edge of the street. Gold under you, water in front of you, fruit trees above you like a canopy of generosity. You think of everything you saw to get here. Horsemen galloping across history like a curse with hooves, altars with souls crying out, earthquakes and falling stars, a dragon with murder in its mouth, beast demanding worship and branding people like merchandise, Babylon glittering while it rotted, the whole world shaking like a table someone finally slammed their fist on. And now this, not escape into clouds, not a spiritual relocation to somewhere far away where earth is forgotten like a bad memory. This is a city coming down, God moving in, holiness taking up residence. The place you stand, solid, bright, clean, feels like the world finally becoming what it was supposed to be before everything went sideways. You look around again and notice the smallest, strangest miracle of all. You aren't afraid. Not bracing, not scanning, not waiting for the twist. You're just there, safe enough to be present, safe enough to be quiet. The river keeps running, steady as a heartbeat. The leaves keep stirring in air that never tastes like smoke. The light keeps shining without flicker, without threat, without shadow, and the city stands with its gates open, as if it has all the time in the world. Because it does, because nothing is collapsing, because nothing is burning, because nothing is being sold, because nobody is disposable. You sit there listening to water, and the word home rises up in you. Not the home you had, with its drafts and arguments and fragile joys. A home you've never seen, but your bones recognize anyway. A place that doesn't need to prove it will last. It simply does. And the river goes on running through the middle of it all, clear as crystal, carrying life forward, month after month, world without end, while the old smoke of Babylon fades into a memory that can't reach you anymore. You blink, and the vision recedes. You look down, and your hands are just hands again. You close the book, but the vision doesn't end. The air around you is suddenly normal again. No jeweled walls, no crystal river, no terrifying choir of eyeball animals doing a never-ending holy, 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 like they're stuck on the universe's strangest playlist. Just ordinary darkness, ordinary quiet, ordinary life. But your skin still remembers what it felt like to stand in that throne room. Your stomach still remembers Babylon smoke. Your throat still remembers clean water. And it's almost annoying how thirsty the world feels afterward. And this is where it helps to remember what you are actually holding this whole time. Not a puzzle box, not a doomsday calendar, not a weird Christian escape room where you have to find the secret meaning of the locust before the timer runs out. It's a letter that shows up to a handful of exhausted churches like a care package made of thunder and poetry and sheer audacity. You're back in a cramped room now, shoulder to shoulder with people who smell like work. Oil lamps burn with that sharp, sooty tang. Somebody's kid is fighting sleep and losing. Outside, there's the usual Roman confidence. Soldiers, statues, coins with Caesar's face on them, like he personally invented money. Inside, you're listening because you have to. The pressure is constant. Not always a sword at your throat, but a hand on the back of your neck. So the vision starts where it starts for a reason, with a throne. Before you see a single beast, before you hear a single trumpet, you get planted in a room where the center of reality is not Caesar, not the empire, not the latest official decree, not the economic chokehold of buying and selling. A throne, and someone actually on it. That's the first comfort. The blunt, steady kind. The kind you need when the world is acting like it belongs to bullies. You can almost hear the quiet scoff in it. Yes, Caesar has titles. Anyway. Then comes the moment that flips your expectations inside out. The lion that shows up as a lamb. You felt that whiplash already. You turn, ready for muscle and teeth and a victory parade. Instead, you get a lamb that looks slaughtered, standing there alive, holding the whole room together like gravity with scars. That's not a small detail. That's the heart of it. It's a way of saying power doesn't get the final word just because it's loud. Violence isn't automatically realism. Cruelty isn't automatically strength. The center of everything is not a warlord. The center of everything is sacrificial love that refuses to die. And it's not sentimental. It's not soft in the flimsy way. It's scarred and standing. So when the seals start cracking open and the horsemen come out, it isn't heaven being dramatic for fun. It's the vision refusing to lie about what the world is like. Conquest rides, war rides, famine rides, death rides. You can smell the dust of their hooves and feel the dread they drag behind them like a cloak. That part lands because everyone hearing this letter knows those riders. They've eaten at their table. They've taken their neighbors. They've made normal life feel like a thin blanket in winter. But the seals also do something else. They put a leash on the chaos. Not in a neat, painless way. Still brutal, still real. People still cry out. You heard the souls under the altar, raw and furious, saying, "How long?" That's comfort too, in a strange way. The suffering isn't brushed off. No one gets told to smile harder. The cries make it all the way to the throne room, and then you get that half hour of silence in heaven. No singing, no thunder, no holy spectacle. Just quiet. Like even eternity pauses to acknowledge what's happening down here. The trumpets and the calamities that follow don't read like a schedule of future headlines when you're sitting in that little lamplit room. They feel like a giant, defiant announcement. Evil has consequences. The world is not an endless open bar for human cruelty where nothing ever comes due. The violence people pour into the earth doesn't just vanish. The greed doesn't evaporate. The arrogance doesn't get to call itself permanent. Limits exist. And then the vision pulls the curtain back even farther. The dragon, the beast, the whole grotesque circus of empire turned into monsters. You can practically taste the propaganda in it, the way the beast demands your awe, the way it imitates worship, the way it wants your body, your voice, your compliance. And that mark, so often turned into spooky modern paranoia, lands in a much simpler, more suffocating way. You can't participate without playing along. You don't get to buy and sell cleanly. You don't get to keep your hands spotless. The system wants you branded with belonging. That's why the vision gives you another mark too. Belonging of a different kind. Not a barcode, not a brand, a name. Not you are owned by the machine, but you are known. And the dragon, for all its tantrums, is already thrown down. That's the point. The monster thrashes, but it's not on the throne. So when Babylon finally falls, the glittering city with drunk eyes and blood on its hem, it's not just an ancient revenge fantasy. It's a promise that no empire gets to be the final shape of the world. Babylon is the system that sells luxury like it's innocence. It's the marketplace where everything has a price, and the last item on the cargo list is the one that makes your stomach turn. Human souls. That's what the vision is appalled by. Not wine and silk by themselves, but wealth fattened on bodies. Prosperity built like a house over a grave. So when Babylon collapses, you're not supposed to clap because you love ruins. You're supposed to feel the relief of a monster finally exhaling its last. The party ends. The music stops. The merchants wail because the machine is broken. And then, this is the real twist. The ending isn't the world getting deleted. It's the world getting healed. A city comes down instead of souls floating up. God moves in instead of people escaping out. The holy place expands until it becomes a place to live. No temple because you don't need a special building to access presence anymore. No night because fear doesn't get a time slot. Gates open because there's nothing left to defend against. A river runs through the middle of everything because life isn't trickling out in rationed cups anymore. Trees keep producing because scarcity doesn't get to rule forever. Leaves heal because history's wounds don't stay infected. That's where the letter lands its weight. For people being squeezed by Rome, by local hostility, by economic pressure, by sheer exhaustion, the vision isn't saying, brace yourself, it gets worse. It's saying, you are not crazy for feeling how heavy this is. You are not forgotten. The beast don't win. Babylon doesn't last. The Lamb is still standing. God is still on the throne. So what are you supposed to do with that? Back in the room with the oil lamps and the fear, you hold on, not with clenched teeth and denial, but with the stubborn, ordinary faithfulness of people who refuse to worship what kills. You keep your integrity when the world offers you comfort as a bribe. You don't confuse the beast's volume for authority. You remember the ending isn't smoke, it's a home. And even when you can't see pearl gates or transparent gold, you've still got that final image lodged in you like a splinter of light. The Lamb alive, the throne steady, the river running, the city open. The vision doesn't end when the book closes. It keeps doing what it came to do, steadying your hands, widening your chest, and insisting, quietly but relentlessly, that the last word over this world is not dragon, not beast, not Babylon, it's new. The oil in the lamp is getting low now, and you can hear it in the flame. It stops dancing and starts sulking, smaller and steadier, like it's tired of being useful. The room has gone that late night stale. Warm bodies, old wool, last meal's onion breath, hanging around like it pays rent. Somebody shifts on a bench and the wood squeals in protest. Outside, the world keeps doing what it always does. Bootsteps on stone. A drunk voice arguing with a doorway. Somewhere a dog barks like it's trying to warn the whole empire about a squirrel. The night air sneaks in through cracks and brings the sea with it. Salt, damp, and that cold honesty water has when it hits rocks. And all of it is normal again. No sea of glass, no emerald rainbow, no thunder rolling around the ceiling like a cart full of pottery. Just you in a dim room, with ordinary fear and ordinary responsibilities waiting for morning. But the vision stays lodged in you anyway. It's in the way your chest still feels too small for what you saw. It's in the way you look at the door and, for a second, half expect it to open onto something impossible. It's in the way new doesn't sound like a motivational slogan anymore. It sounds like an ending that finally stops hurting. So you think about John, not the glowing icon version. An old man on Patmos, exiled and sunburnt, with joints that probably complain every time he stands. You can feel it, salt crusting on your skin, the grit in your sandals, the way your back aches after sleeping on anything that isn't a mattress. Patmos isn't cute. It's rock and wind and the kind of loneliness that makes your own thoughts feel loud. The sea is always there, always moving, always reminding you that the world is bigger than your trouble and also completely indifferent to it. You wake up to gulls screaming like they've been personally insulted by sunrise, and you're there because powerful people decided you should be somewhere else. That's the part that sticks. The vision doesn't come to a man sitting comfortably with a full pantry and a clear schedule. It comes to someone who has been pushed out to the margins, put on a stone shelf like an object nobody wants in the house. You can almost see him squinting into the glare, one hand shading his eyes, the other hand rubbing a wrist that's sore from old restraints. Then, without warning, the sky behaves badly. A door stands open where there should be nothing but air. Not a metaphorical door, not a follow your dreams door. A real impossible opening, like reality forgot to lock itself up properly. And that's how it starts. Not with John climbing upward like he's earned a private tour. It starts with an invitation that doesn't care how small you feel. A voice calls like a trumpet, loud enough to get through exile, loud enough to get through shame, loud enough to get through the thick, sweaty fog of empire. Come up here. You've been through the whole sweep of it now, and you can feel how odd it is that the last pages of everything end this way. Not with humanity scrambling up ladders, with a city coming down, with open gates, with a river running right through the middle, like life is done being rationed, like thirst is finally getting answered with something other than try harder, like the world isn't a trap anymore. And you remember the title that wraps itself around the whole vision like a clasp, the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. You can almost hear how that lands in a room full of tired people. Rome calls itself eternal. Coins say it. Statues say it. Soldiers say it with their posture. The whole world is built to make you feel small and temporary. And then this voice rolls in, calm as bedrock. Before your beginning, I am. After your ending, I am. There's a steadiness to it that doesn't need to shout. Like a mountain doesn't argue with weather. So the night deepens. The lamp finally gives up a little more. Shadows climb the walls. Somebody pulls a cloak tighter because the air turns mean when the fire shrinks. And you can feel the strange comfort of knowing the chaos has edges. Not because you're strong enough to control it. Not because you've figured out the secret code. Simply because the throne is occupied. You think of the lamb again, still the most baffling center of it all. Not a predator on a pile of bones, not a shiny hero with clean hands, a lamb that looks slaughtered, standing anyway, alive anyway, holding the weight anyway, scars that didn't get erased, power that didn't need to perform. And when your mind drifts toward dragons, toward your own beasts, your own Babylons, your own long seasons, where it feels like the wrong things keep winning, you've still got that image. Not as a weapon, as an anchor. The night on Patmos keeps moving too. John's little fire crackles. The wind worries at his cloak. He's probably hungry in that dull, persistent way. The kind of hunger that makes food feel like an idea you used to have. The island smells like salt and smoke and whatever fish someone forgot to clean properly. He sits with the vision inside him, and it doesn't magically fix his exile. The rocks stay hard, the guards stay bored, the sea stays loud. But he has seen the end of the story, and it isn't Rome. He has seen the world healed, and it isn't a fantasy for people who can't cope. It's a promise with teeth, the kind that tells you the beast can roar all it wants, but it doesn't get the last word. So he writes. You can feel the scratch of it. Read on parchment, ink that smells sharp and metallic, fingers stained dark, eyes squinting in firelight. He pauses, flexes his hand, shakes out the ache. He addresses real people with real problems. People who still have to go to work tomorrow. People who still have to buy bread that's half sand and all disappointment. People who still have to live next to the temple of somebody else's God, where the music is loud and the pressure is constant. And he sends them a vision big enough to make their fear feel smaller. Not gone, smaller. Time keeps doing its long work after that. Years pile up like sand. Empires strut and then crumble. New flags replace old ones. Names change. The roads crack. The statues lose noses. The confident words carved into stone get worn down by rain that never cared. But the images keep walking through history like they have somewhere to be. A throne that doesn't shake. A lamb that stands. A city coming down. A river that runs. Open gates. And that last line, breathed out at the end like the simplest prayer a tired mouth can still form. Come, Lord Jesus. Not a threat, not a timeline. A longing, like someone leaning their head against a door, listening for footsteps on the other side. Like a person who has been brave for too long and just wants the world to be right. And even that isn't the final mood. Because with the longing comes a gift. A promise, handed over like a cup of clean water, the morning star. Not a harsh floodlight, not a spotlight. A steady point of brightness that shows up while it's still dark, stubborn and quiet. Refusing to let the night pretend it's permanent. So you're back where you are, in your own room, in your own ordinary life, with your own aches and messes and things you can't fix by thinking harder. The world outside still makes its demands. The dragons still try to look convincing, but somewhere beyond all the noise, the Alpha and the Omega still holds the whole story at once. Beginning, end, and everything in the middle. The Lamb is still standing, the gates are still open, the river is still running, and the morning star still rises, slow and faithful, over a world that's being made new. Still being made new. Still being made new, even now, even here. Even as the night stretches on and the sea keeps breathing against the rocks and somewhere on a wind-beaten island. An old man's words endure, long after the empires that sent him there have turned to dust and silence, and the door in the sky remains open, quiet and waiting, and the story continues.